Chapter 795. With his previous experience, Night Sorrow easily led Xuexi into the Supreme River space. Last time, they had to fight because many nether beasts had gathered at the entrance of the space channel. This time, however, there was no need for that. There were only 1 or 2 nether beasts at the entrance, and Xuexi easily dealt with them. Then, Night Sorrow led Xuexi to the teleportation array. After passing through the illusion array, the two of them stood on the teleportation array and started the teleportation. Soon, the two of them were teleported to the area of the spatial storm. After exiting the teleportation array, Night Sorrow looked around and said, "Xuexi, the spatial storm has weakened. Back then, our teleportation array was about 300 feet away from the edge of the storm. Now, it's about 1,500 feet away. I can see it. If we didn't have the teleportation array as a benchmark, it wouldn't be easy to judge. Now that we have the teleportation array as a benchmark, we can clearly judge the weakening of the spatial storm," said Xuexi. "But it's hard to say how long it will take to disperse. According to the map, there are still 200 miles left. It has weakened by more than 1,000 feet in the past few months, so it will take another 2 or 3 years. Night Sorrow calculated and said, "There are spatial soul-eating beasts and spatial soul-eating beasts in the spatial storm. It seems your judgment is correct. This is definitely the same spatial storm as the one around Haotian City." Xuexi's soul power was very strong. She had already discovered something without Night Sorrow noticing. The spatial storm here has shrunk a little. I also found that the intensity of the energy storm has weakened a lot. Night Sorrow flashed to the periphery of the storm and observed. "Indeed. Let's go back to the realm C and take a look. Then we can judge which side is weakening faster. That way, when it's about time, we'll have a choice and an advantage," said Xuexi to Night Sorrow. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." Night Sorrow then flew toward the teleportation array. "Can't you wait?" "How ungentlemanly," said Xuexi unhappily as she caught up with Night Sorrow. "You're a saint. How can you lose me?" Night Sorrow glanced at Xuexi and then entered the teleportation array. After teleporting to the spatial tunnel in the Medicine Valley region, the two of them did not stop. They immediately returned to the 9 Domains world and teleported to the Pill Tripod Square. After arriving at Haohai City, Xuexi started flying with Night Sorrow. She flew at full speed, which was slightly faster than the airship. Xuexi hugged Night Sorrow's shoulder. "How does it feel to fly at full speed?" "It feels great, especially the fragrance on your body." "It smells so good," Night Sorrow said. "That's not what you used to say." Xuexi turned to look at Night Sorrow and said. "Wasn't I under a lot of pressure?" "I felt like I was a thief," Night Sorrow said. "I can understand. You are calm now, so you can enjoy this feeling in peace, right?" Xuexi looked at Night Sorrow and said. In fact, it wasn't just Night Sorrow. Xuexi felt the same way too. The pressure of not being accepted was hard for her to bear. Soon, Night Sorrow and Xuexi arrived at the island where Xuexi used to live. The island was occupied, but the two of them didn't care. It was normal for others to come to an unoccupied island. Fortunately, there weren't many people in the area where they used to live, so it didn't affect their cultivation and exploration. After entering the realm C, the two of them arrived at the spatial turbulence. "Night Sorrow, your speed has indeed decreased. How do you feel?" Xuexi's body flashed, avoiding the spatial turbulence's attacks. At the same time, she looked at Night Sorrow and asked. "Yes. According to the current intensity, we can get close to Haotian City first, and it won't be long before we get there," Night Sorrow said. "I'm counting on you. My speed is fast, but there are definitely no gaps in the spatial storm. Speed is useless. We need to be able to withstand it and break through the spatial turbulence's blockade," Xuexi said. I understand. What we need to do now is to improve our strength. The stronger the protective energy, the more we can withstand it. Let's go back first. Night Sorrow called out to Xuexi and retreated to the periphery of the spatial storm. Then, he brought Xuexi into the pagoda of time. Your true qi cultivation is now at the mid-4th rank. If you eat the dragon spirit pill, it'll be a waste of time. Xuexi looked at Night Sorrow and said, I don't plan to quickly improve my true qi cultivation. I want to improve my body's cultivation. It's not too far away, Night Sorrow said. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow's myriad Dao tome had reached the late 3rd rank of the soul refinement realm. He wasn't far from the peak of the 3rd rank. Then the two of us should cultivate more. While helping you improve your cultivation, my wind origin body can also improve. Xuexi looked at Night Sorrow and said, I think so too. When you're shy, you're really different. Night Sorrow looked at Xuexi's blushing face. I wasn't shy in the past because I didn't care about anything. Now, I'm a little embarrassed. Xuexi said. Then, Xuexi turned her hair back to its original silver color. The silver hair with water ripples added a flirtatious aura to her. The two of them were familiar with each other. After enjoying the feeling, the two of them began to cultivate. The two of them focused on Xuexi's cultivation. Night Sorrow only needed to circulate the energy of his myriad Dao tome. After Xuexi's wind origin body entered Night Sorrow's body, it automatically circulated with the energy of his myriad Dao tome. It nourished the energy of Night Sorrow's myriad Dao tome. At the same time, it also nourished Night Sorrow's body. After resting, Xuexi put on a gauze robe and brewed a pot of tea. This is not bad. It's comfortable and it can improve my cultivation. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio, yes. That's why many cultivators are researching on dual cultivation methods. However, some people take the evil path in order to improve their cultivation quickly. They use yin to nourish yang or yang to nourish yin. It's an action that harms others to benefit oneself. It's despised by cultivators. Xuexi poured a cup of tea for herself and said, I know. I was almost cheated by you. Night Sorrow muttered softly. Night Sorrow, I didn't want to do it. I was forced to the point of no return. Let's not talk about this. It's really embarrassing. I also paid the price. Xuexi's voice was a little soft. This was a stain in her life. I'm sorry. I won't talk about this in the future. I won't mention what happened between us to anyone else. Hearing Xuexi's soft voice, Night Sorrow suddenly felt a little guilty. It was mainly because Yinshi's attitude touched his heart. Who didn't miss it? Xuexi raised her head and looked at Night Sorrow. She knew that Night Sorrow's attitude had changed. He knew how to take care of her. It could be said that he would feel sorry for her in the future. Chapter 796. Night Sorrow hugged Xuexi and nodded. He understood Xuexi's feelings. Xuexi had taken the initiative to give him what she thought was the most precious thing in her heart. It was also a sign of friendship. Do you understand? Xuexi seriously looked into Night Sorrow's eyes. I'm not stupid. We didn't have a good beginning, but we will have a perfect ending. Night Sorrow smiled at Xuexi. You're right. This is a perfect ending for me. Xuexi nodded her head. She was really happy. You're right. To Xuexi, the beginning between her and Night Sorrow was dark and unsightly. But now, not only had she obtained the essence qi she wanted to strengthen herself, she had also obtained Night Sorrow's feelings. Xuexi knew very well how outstanding Yi Shang was, so she knew that she had profited this time, profited greatly. We'll take our time in the future. I also apologize for my past actions. Night sorrow moved Xuexi's body and looked at her. You don't have to be like this. Everything you did was because you were forced. It was all because of me. I know that very well. Xuexi looked at Yishang with tears in her eyes. Alright, don't cry. The past is the past. Let's meditate and cultivate, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Xuexi couldn't bear to look back on the past few days. Yishang had also shouldered a huge amount of pressure. He felt guilty towards Sikong Chuyu and the other two, and he felt guilty towards his own conscience. Now that he could face the past, it was also a relief for him. After resting for 2 hours, the two of them continued cultivating in the chaotic streams of space. When they were resting again, Xuexi told Night Sorrow that she had given Ji Yuhao some time crystals. With the full support of the Ji Yu family, Ji Yuhao's cultivation base would definitely improve quickly. So she told Night Sorrow to be careful when he saw Ji Yuhao. Hee, you tricked me again. However, I am not afraid of him. If we meet, let's see who is stronger, Night Sorrow said with a smile. After seeing his parents, Night Moon stood up again. This made Night Sorrow feel relieved. Ji Yuhao could not give him any pressure. I'm sorry. Back then, our standpoints were different. At that time, I was thinking from the perspective of the Qingtian region, so I thought the young people of the Qingtian region would be more outstanding. As for Su Mu, I also took him as a disciple from the perspective of the future of the Qingtian region. His temperament is no different from Ji Yuhao's, said Xuexi. It was Yin Shi who helped Ji Yuhao and Su Mu. It has nothing to do with you. You are now my friend and my woman, Xuexi. Night Sorrow reminded Xuexi, mainly because he didn't want her to bear the pressure. Yes, there is no Yin Shi in this world. There is only Night Sorrow's friend, Xuexi. If anyone dares to harm Night Sorrow, I will kill him. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, she knew that Night Sorrow was thinking for her. Xuexi also made a decision. That was, no one could ruin her current life, and no one could hurt Night Sorrow. That's right. Let's continue with our cultivation. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said with a smile. Yin Shi also responded to Night Sorrow with a smile. It was a sweet smile that came from the bottom of her heart. After recovering, Night Sorrow stretched his waist. How do you feel? How far are you from breaking through? But don't worry, the storm is still very strong. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said. I will try my best. Night Sorrow nodded. When the storm subsides to a certain extent, you will almost break through. Clear Sky City was the #1 city in the 9 regions world in the ancient times. Clear Sky Saint King was also the first Saint King. He suppressed an era. If he left something behind, it would be a heaven-defying opportunity. Xuexi said. Xuexi, what is the highest level you can reach with your cultivation technique? Night Sorrow asked. The peak of the Saint Realm. There is no cultivation technique to enter the Saint King realm. Xuexi explained. Is there a difference between the Saint Realm and the Saint King realm? Night Sorrow asked puzzledly. Above the Saint Realm is the Saint King realm. The Saint King realm is a relatively special realm. It is similar to the false pellet realm between the essence gathering realm and the core condensing realm. The difference is that this is a realm that no cultivator can cross. Once you break through the Saint King realm, you will reach rank 8. Xuexi's general knowledge and experience were countless times better than Night Sorrow's. Rank 8 was the undying realm. It was also called the King realm. However, in the ancient books of the 9 regions world, there were only such records. There was no such cultivator. There is no end to cultivation and effort. Xuexi, let us set out towards this goal. Yishan waved his hand at Xuexi. Xueshi smiled at Night Sorrow. I didn't dare to have such thoughts before, but now I do. Then, Night Sorrow thought of something. The Golden Growler's body was not dead, and its soul was not destroyed. The characteristics it showed were that it was not a Saint Realm cultivator. It was similar to the Undying Realm that Xueshi mentioned. However, Night Sorrow did not tell Xueshi. Some things were better kept to himself. If he told others, it would bring pressure to others. Night Sorrow and Xueshi cultivated very hard. They worked hard to enter Haotian City in advance. After cultivating for half a month, Night Sorrow felt that the myriad Tao Tome was on the verge of leveling up. So, he greeted Xueshi. I will help you nourish it. You can level up later. This will be better for your foundation. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Then I'll have to trouble you. Yi Shang nodded. After 3 days, Night Sorrow raised the cultivation of the myriad Tao Tome to level 4 of the spirit refinement realm. Not only did his body's defense increase, but his soul power also increased a lot. After leveling up, Night Sorrow stretched his body. The energy in his body moved, making a crackling sound. See 7Y chapter on Cool 0-inch. Congratulations, but don't think about going to Haotian City first. Stabilize your cultivation first. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Okay, we will always be ahead of others, Yi Shan said with a smile. Xueshi nodded. She was happy for Night Sorrow because ordinary people at Night Sorrow's age would not be so calm. With Xueshi's help, Night Sorrow, who had stabilized his cultivation for 2 days, decided to continue strengthening his elemental power. The power of desolates was of the time attribute. When his elemental power was full, his body would be strong. After absorbing another half of the desolate stone, the elemental power in the myriad Tao Tome was strengthened to saturation. Night Sorrow strengthened his body again, but this time it was not as painful as last time. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow decided to charge toward Haotian City. Even if he could not resist, he could use the spatial crack to travel. There would be no danger of being destroyed by the spatial turbulence. Xueshi, wait for me here. This time, I will fight. No matter what, I have to reach Haotian City. Night Sorrow said to Xueshi, who was beside him. But what if you can't hold on halfway? Xueshi was a little worried about Night Sorrow. Enter the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow told her his plan. Take me with you. Xueshi nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow had made his decision. In the past, I would take you with me because I was worried. Now, I am very relieved and do not want to take risks with you, Night Sorrow said to Xueshi. Chapter 797. In the past, Night Sorrow would have been worried about Xueshi's situation. He was afraid that she would harm his parents and family. But now, he knew that she wouldn't. She was no longer the silver dusk sacred of the past. She was a woman of flesh and blood. You're afraid that you'll implicate me, but I'm not afraid. Xueshi shook her head. But I'm afraid. I've never done anything to betray my heart. This is the only time I've done something like this to you. Now that you've changed, I can also face my heart. If something happens to me, the soul power in your divine pearl will scatter. If nothing happens to me, then we'll always be friends. With that, Night Sorrow drew an arc and entered the realm sea. You bastard. Stop right there. I said I'm not afraid. Xueshi's body flickered as she chased after Night Sorrow. But at this time, Night Sorrow used his spiritual strength to make Xueshi fall onto the beach. Seeing Night Sorrow's figure disappear into the realm sea, Xueshi cried. She knew that Night Sorrow was doing this for her own good. Night Sorrow was worried that he wouldn't be able to come back after entering the realm sea and would implicate her. But Xueshi really wanted to accompany Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow entered the chaotic space and charged forward. The reincarnation spear in his right hand was constantly brandishing, scattering the chaotic space attacking him. After advancing 15 miles, Night Sorrow didn't use a protective barrier. He wanted to conserve as much energy as possible. After advancing for more than 40 miles, Night Sorrow raised his protective barrier. He couldn't use too much of his body's energy, as that was the key to his defense. After using the spatial protective chi shield, Night Sorrow slashed forward. After advancing 50 miles, Night Sorrow felt that he had used up a lot of energy. He decisively consumed Life Spirit Elixir and Origin Spirit Elixir to replenish the myriad Tao Tomes and Bloodlines energy. At the same time, he used his Void True Chi to resist the spatial storms. The spatial turbulence storm at Night Sorrow's location was very strong, and he was already under a lot of pressure. At this time, he was only halfway through the journey, and the spatial turbulence ahead was even more violent. Night Sorrow controlled his protective chi cover to slash forward. The reincarnation spear in his hand trembled as he aimed it at the chaotic spatial flow that was charging towards him. As for the spatial soul-devouring beast, Night Sorrow had already ignored it. This was because the spatial soul-devouring beast could not break through his protective barrier, nor could it break through his body. With these two layers of insurance, Night Sorrow was confident that the true threat was the spatial turbulence. After another 20 li, Night Sorrow's energy reserves were almost depleted. At this time, Night Sorrow used the spatial crack and flashed into the spatial crack. Entering the spatial crack, Night Sorrow's figure flashed and entered the space-time treasure pagoda. Then, he took out a pile of high-grade spirit stones and threw them into the space. Little Kong, use all your strength to stabilize the space-time treasure pagoda. Don't let the space-time treasure pagoda get swept away by the spatial turbulence. You need to recover quickly. I will control it myself. The consumption is astonishing. Shao Kong reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow consumed the Origin Spirit Elixir and Life Spirit Elixir and started to recover at full speed. He had to race against time as he was worried that Shao Kong would not be able to hold on. Night Sorrow recovered at full speed and only used 15 minutes to recover to his peak state. Through his soul power, Night Sorrow discovered that the spatial turbulence in the spatial crack was no less violent than the spatial storms in the realms sea outside. It was much stronger than the spatial turbulence he encountered when he tore open the space beside the lake and the city in the sky. It corresponded to the outside world. This made Night Sorrow understand why the spatial turbulence he encountered when he tore open the space was stronger. Since this was the case, Night Sorrow felt that there was no need to enter the spatial crack again. It was the same to fight in the spatial turbulence in the realm sea. After exiting the spatial crack, Night Sorrow used his spatial protective chi cover and brandished his reincarnation spear to continue charging forward. This time, Night Sorrow's charge only covered a distance of 12 miles before exhausting all of his energy. Night Sorrow let Shao Kong sink to the bottom of the realm's sea while he started to recover at full speed. Shao Kong shrunk his body so that he could bear less of the impact and consume less energy. Even so, the consumption of high-grade spirit stones was astonishing. Night Sorrow used the Origin Spirit Elixir and Life Spirit Elixir to replenish his energy instantly. This way, Night Sorrow only needed 15 minutes or even less to recover. Every time Night Sorrow rested, Shao Kong would consume several hundred spirit stones. If it were other cultivators, they would not be able to withstand such consumption. Night Sorrow had entered the alternate space several times and collected a lot of top-grade and high-grade spirit stones. In addition, he had also collected a lot of spirit stones in the Red Leaf Imperial Palace. Therefore, he did not care about this consumption. Even if he had to consume 10 top-grade spirit stones each time, Night Sorrow could still withstand it. What he was most worried about, and what he did not want to see the most, was not being able to establish himself in Clear Sky City. Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer to Clear Sky City as he fought against the spatial storm again and again. However, Night Sorrow's speed was reduced to an extreme. She was very anxious, but she could not see through the spatial turbulence and could not use her soul power to probe. Her soul power would be destroyed once it entered the spatial turbulence. However, she was sure that Night Sorrow was safe because Night Sorrow's soul power was still revolving in her divine pearl. Half a day passed. Night Sorrow had rested more than 20 times and Clear Sky City was getting clearer and clearer in front of him. Kill! Night Sorrow shouted in his heart and continued to attack. Although the consumption was great, Night Sorrow could still bear it. In the evening, Night Sorrow rushed out of the spatial turbulence in the realm sea and landed on the land of Clear Sky City. However, the spatial turbulence still existed. Originally, the soul-devouring beasts in the spatial turbulence were only as thick as a thumb. However, the soul-devouring beasts here were as thick as a baby's arm. However, Night Sorrow's 7-star brilliant moon spear's extreme kill could still kill them. Night Sorrow rushed towards the center of Clear Sky City. He felt that the spatial turbulence was much smaller in places with buildings. Most importantly, 7 new Ta Chapter DN Festival. After moving forward with difficulty for a while, Night Sorrow flashed into the pagoda of time and space. Then, he controlled the pagoda of time and space and smashed it into the hard ground. Then, he flashed into the pagoda of time and space. Night Sorrow, you don't have to worry. Underground, my consumption is almost negligible. Shao Kong reminded Night Sorrow. After relaxing, Night Sorrow directly sat on the steps of the pagoda of time and space. This day was a desperate day for Night Sorrow. He was racing against time because he didn't know how long it would take and whether he could reach Clear Sky City. Therefore, he didn't dare to relax. It's like eating spirit stones. After drinking a mouthful of wine and recovering to his peak state, Night Sorrow murmured in a low voice. Because the consumption was too great, a storage ring with high-grade spirit stones was empty. However, Night Sorrow knew that the consumption wouldn't be much because Shao Kong could enter the ground. Such a situation made Night Sorrow feel at ease. No matter how strong the spatial turbulence was, he was not afraid because he had a foothold and a place to rest. In other words, he could definitely get close to the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Chapter 798. After completely recovering, Night Sorrow continued to move forward. Currently, he could see the towering heaven-sealing hall, but it was very blurry. It was still very far away. The space protective chi shield cut forward, and the nothingness protective chi shield melted forward. Yishang kept getting closer to the center of Hao Tian City. 2 hours later, Night Sorrow felt a change. The intensity of the spatial turbulence had decreased. This was a good sign. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. After another 2 hours, the spatial turbulence had completely disappeared. At this time, night fell. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and smashed the space-time pagoda into the ground. Then, he entered the pagoda. Night Sorrow, this place is extraordinary. I feel a suppression. The suppression comes from the center of the city. It's hard to say what's going on. Little Kong communicated with Night Sorrow. The first ancient sacred city. It's hard to predict what's going on. Let's go steadily. If there's danger, I'll use the spatial fissure and directly enter the spatial turbulence. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he began to cultivate. After an intense day of fighting, he was now improving his cultivation and calming his emotions. Yin Shi's heart also felt more at ease. After a day, Night Sorrow was fine. This meant that the problem was not big. He had survived what he needed to. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow walked out of the spacetime pagoda at dawn. Dead City. What entered Yishang's eyes was a ghost town that had been eroded by the passage of time. The buildings were all dilapidated, and the area behind Yishang was empty because everything had been torn apart by the spatial turbulence. Night Sorrow slowly walked forward. Although he knew that there was still a distance to the center of the city, Night Sorrow did not want to fly. He came to Clear Sky City to investigate, so he could not miss anything. Night Sorrow walked slowly in the city. The chilly wind in the air made him feel uncomfortable. He felt that the operation of his soul was affected. When he looked up, he found that there were remnant souls in the wind. They were unconscious remnant souls that were growling. After that, Night Sorrow tried to activate his heavenly void pearl. The heavenly void pearl shone with a purple light. It lit up Night Sorrow's godly sea and forced the haze out of his mind. Lingering spirit Night Sorrow knew that these remnant souls were very strong when they were alive, but for some reason, they had lost their consciousness. Walking in the city, Night Sorrow saw skeletons and weapons that could no longer be used due to the erosion of time. Night Sorrow knew that these were weapons that were below rank 5. If they were spirit weapons, then they would not have been eroded by time. There were also some broken storage rings and some scattered spirit stones. They had already turned pale and no longer contained any energy. Night Sorrow continued to walk through the city. Looking at the broken tiles, broken beams, and dilapidated skeletons, Night Sorrow's heart was very heavy. All of this told Night Sorrow about the tragedy of the war. After traveling 1,000 miles, Night Sorrow rested. He found that as he moved forward, the traces of the spatial storm were getting smaller and smaller. However, more and more people died in battle. Night Sorrow still did not see any resources. It seemed that there was nothing other than skeletons. He felt that this should not be the case. With so many people dying in battle, it was impossible for there to be no resources. Night Sorrow continued to move forward and investigate. However, the reality was still the same. Some of the weapons looked very domineering, but when he touched them, they turned to dust. This situation made Night Sorrow understand. He felt that the weapons just now were spirit weapons, but their spirit chi had been sucked away. Cool. Night Sorrow then began to fly forward. All the weapons and spirit stones' energy had been sucked away. This was definitely not a coincidence. No matter how much he investigated, he would not find anything. Supreme Sky City was just too big. It was 7 or 8 times the size of Sky-bearing City, Supreme Clarity City, and Dongxian City. Night Sorrow quickly flew for 4 hours before arriving at the center of the city. After landing, Night Sorrow saw an energy barrier emitting light. There were many corpses around the energy barrier. They were like moths flying into a flame. The surroundings were full of skeletons. In the middle of the energy barrier was a large hall that reached the clouds. There were 3 shining words in the hall: Heaven's Sealing Hole. Looking at the energy barrier, Night Sorrow did not know what to do. This was because he could feel the power of the energy barrier. After standing in front of the energy barrier and pondering for a while, Night Sorrow circulated the energy of the myriad Tao tome to protect himself. After that, he propped up the Nihility protective chi barrier and reached out to touch the energy barrier. When Night Sorrow's arm touched the energy barrier, the energy on the energy barrier circulated and instantly wrapped around Night Sorrow's body. However, it withdrew a moment later. Night Sorrow did not understand what was going on. This was because that powerful and incomparably terrifying energy barrier did not harm him. Night Sorrow's arm was now within the energy of the energy shield. Then, Night Sorrow took a step forward, and half of his body entered the energy of the energy shield. After sensing it again and confirming that the energy barrier did not harm him, Night Sorrow entered the energy barrier. Then, he crossed several meters of energy and entered the energy barrier. Turning around, Night Sorrow looked at the energy barrier that did not have any effect. He was a little dazed. He was sure that this energy barrier was very strong. It would not have any difficulty killing a venerable or even a saint. However, it did not make things difficult for him. Night Sorrow touched the energy barrier again and found that this terrifying energy barrier did not care about him at all. It did not have any intention of responding to him. Young man, the energy barrier was built with the 9 regions' origin energy as the foundation. Naturally, it will not harm the people of the 9 regions world. A voice entered Night Sorrow's ears, followed by a sigh. Who is hiding? Come out. Night Sorrow roared with the reincarnation spear in his hand. Fly forward. After flying for 100 miles, you will see me. The voice rang in Night Sorrow's ears again. Night Sorrow calmed down and felt that this voice made sense. This terrifying energy barrier did not harm him, which naturally meant that it recognized him as a person of the 9 regions world. This reason was very reasonable. Then, Night Sorrow flew forward and arrived at the heaven-sealing Great Hall in a moment. The heaven-sealing Great Hall gave Night Sorrow an oppressive aura. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt that he was very small, like a grain of sand in the vast ocean. He felt like he was looking up at the sky. Night Sorrow circulated the energy of the myriad Tao Tome and straightened his body. He did not like the feeling of being unable to stand straight. At this moment, a figure appeared 30 feet in front of Night Sorrow. It was a middle-aged man in a white robe who was sitting cross-legged. The middle-aged man had shoulder-length hair and his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. At this moment, he was sizing up Night Sorrow. Young man of the 9 regions world, not bad. For 10,000 years, I have hoped to meet the people of the 9 regions world. I was also worried about meeting the people of the 9 regions world. Today, I still have to face them. The middle-aged man's voice entered Night Sorrow's ears, but his lips did not move. Chapter 799. There's no need to panic or be surprised. What you saw was a soul clone supported by a strand of my soul. There's not much time left, so I'll tell you the details and what you need to do, said the middle-aged man to Night Sorrow. While Night Sorrow was still in a daze, the middle-aged man began to tell him some things that no one knew. The middle-aged man was the Clear Sky Sacred King, who had been the city lord of Clear Sky City 10,000 years ago. However, he had fallen in the God Seal battle. That battle had been particularly tragic, and the flames of war had spread throughout the 9 regions. A peak expert from another world had pierced through the 9 regions world, shattering it. The 9 regions world had been pierced through because that expert had wanted to collect the 9 regions world's origins. The 9 regions world's origins had been shattered into 10 pieces. 9 of them had flown to the 9 continents, while the other had been collected by that expert. The result of the 9 regions world being pierced through was chaotic space. If it wasn't dealt with, the 9 regions world would be swallowed by the chaotic space. At that time, the Central Continent Saint King and Clear Sky Saint King were fighting side by side in Clear Sky City. Together, they used all of their cultivation and used a great method to move Clear Sky City to the area where the 9-domain world was pierced, suppressing the spatial turbulence. After moving Clear Sky City, the Central Plains Sacred King had died, and Clear Sky Sacred King's vitality had been greatly damaged. In order to stabilize the suppression, Clear Sky Sacred King had used his essence blood and spiritual strength to set up the 1000 derivation grand formation to seal the shattered space. At the same time, he had also set up an energy barrier with the 9 regions world's origins as its core. The 9 regions world's origins energy barrier was the core of the 1000 derivation grand formation, the heaven sealing palace. Senior, what do you need me to do? Night Sorrow was filled with admiration for the Clear Sky Sacred King. It could be said that he had fallen to such a state because of the 9 regions world, and only a strand of his soul remained. Clear Sky City has appeared. That means the suppression is no longer stable. We need to stabilize the suppression. We need the 9 regions world's people to work hard, said Clear Sky Sacred King to Night Sorrow. I came here to know about this. This is my destiny. Tell me. As long as I can do something for the Nine Regions world, I'll pay any price. Night Sorrow sighed. He knew that if he wanted to stabilize the suppression, he would have to pay a huge price. However, as a citizen of the 9 territories, he could not avoid it. Is life okay? Clear Sky Saint King's voice entered Night Sorrow's ears. Although I have many regrets, and although I feel that life has just begun, since this is my fate, I will accept it. Night Sorrow nodded. With someone like you from the 9 regions, it was worth it for us 3 Saint Kings to fight to the death. Young man, you did not disappoint me, the Clear Sky Saint King said. My abilities are limited. I can't compare to Senior, but I won't run away from what I should do and what I should bear, Night Sorrow said. You won't lose your life. The reason why the 1000 derivation great formation isn't stable is because my soul can't hold on any longer. It's about to disperse. I can't control and protect this great formation anymore. Since you're here, you'll replace me. If you give up something, you'll gain something. You'll definitely gain something from this decision, said Hao Tian Saint loudly. Clear Sky Saint King then told Night Sorrow that as long as Night Sorrow cultivated a spiritual clone, he could go to the Heaven Sealing Palace to guard it. The downside was that Night Sorrow's spiritual clone would never be able to leave the Heaven Sealing Palace. That was a loss, but the gain was even greater. As long as Night Sorrow's spiritual clone remained in the Heaven Sealing Palace, it would never die. In other words, even if my true body dies, this clone won't die. Night Sorrow was startled. That's right, I can't do that because I'm just a strand of my soul, not a soul clone. But you can do it, and that's not even the most heaven-defying part. The most heaven-defying part is that you left some essence blood for the Heaven-Sealing Great Hall to refine with your soul clone. Your soul clone is no different from your original body. It can even be said that if your soul is strong enough, you can cultivate a soul clone. Hao Tian Saint King's words stunned Yishang. You can do that. Night Sorrow was shocked. That's because there's a limit to cultivating a spiritual clone. Otherwise, you could rely on your true body to continuously cultivate spiritual clones, said Clear Sky Saint King enviously as he looked at Night Sorrow. Then why didn't Senior do that before you died? Asked Night Sorrow. It wasn't in any danger before, so how could it be obedient? Now that it knows the 9 regions are in danger of being destroyed, it knows how to cooperate, said Clear Sky Saint King. You still dare to speak ill of me? It's your incompetence that led to this situation. A mighty voice rang out, shaking Yishan so much that he had to take 2 steps back before he could stabilize himself. #TheTnet, Item Spirit. Night Sorrow was shocked. No, the Heaven Sealing Palace is a special way for the 9 regions' essences to manifest themselves. Just now, the 9 regions' essences were reprimanding me. But since my soul is about to dissipate, it's fine if I'm reprimanded, said Clear Sky Saint King. I've cultivated a spiritual clone before, but it's still far from forming. I don't know when it'll form. If it's too late, then I can only enter with my true body. If I can't leave, then so be it, said Night Sorrow as he looked at the ice silk bag on his waist. Even if you haven't cultivated it, there's still time. Now, do as I say. Take out a container and release some essence blood. Throw the medium that contains your spiritual clone into it. Then, you don't have to worry about it, said Clear Sky Saint King to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out a spirit jade pillar and cut off a section. Then, he waved his reincarnation spear and made a deeper container. Then, he slashed his left wrist with the reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow's attack only left a white mark on his left wrist. What is going on with you? Your essence energy has soared into the clouds. Your body is much stronger than my subordinate, the Fist Emperor, Li Feng. Sacred King Clear Sky, who was observing Yishang, noticed that there was something extraordinary about Yishang's body. Yes, I cultivate my body. Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear and poured all his energy into it. Then, he slashed his left wrist again. This time, a wound opened and Night Sorrow's blood flowed into the jade container. At this time, Night Sorrow's blood was red with traces of gold. It was very different from ordinary blood. Even the blood from the five-clawed pterosaur's heart couldn't be compared to his blood. After a while, a lot of Night Sorrow's blood was stored in the jade container. Looking at his blood, Night Sorrow untied the ice silk bag on his waist. Then, he took out the void Tao stone that contained his spiritual clone and looked at Clear Sky Saint King. Don't hesitate. Quickly put it in, urged Clear Sky Saint King. Night Sorrow nodded and put the void Tao stone into the jade container. Then, he took 2 steps back. Chapter 800. Alright. Even if this king's remnant soul dissipates now, this spatial hole suppression won't be a problem. Now it's up to you, said the Clear Sky Sacred King. You don't need time, asked Night Sorrow. The Heaven's Sealing Hall will help you deal with it. The broken region will also be firmly suppressed. If there's anything else you don't understand, you can ask, said the Clear Sky Sacred King. I want to know who attacked our 9 regions world, and what their goal is. Night Sorrow took out a spirit jade stool and sat down. This is a long story, and it might be very stressful for you. Take your time to digest it, said the Clear Sky Sacred King. In the vast starry sky, there were 3,000 small worlds. Whether they were destroyed or born, they were all fated. Each world was on a different level. The 9 regions world was an ordinary world. Of course, it didn't have the qualifications to be called a world. 7 Look at Z, a chapter P. The 9 regions world was a subsidiary world of the profound heaven world. The profound heaven world was thousands of times larger than the 9 regions world. The profound heaven world had hundreds of subsidiary worlds like the 9 regions world. 50,000 years ago, the 9 regions world had still been a primitive world. Because of a huge battle in the profound heaven world, several sects and families had been defeated. The ancestors of those sects and families had broken through the world barrier and come to the 9 regions world to live. But no matter how they developed, they could never catch up to the profound heaven world. And the enemies of those sects and families had treated the 9 regions world as a place to raise materials. Every once in a while, they would carry out a massacre and take away the saint crystals of the 9 regions world's cultivators, using them as resources to raise their descendants. This period of time was 10,000 years. Every 10,000 years, there would be a massacre. The last time the enemy had come, they had discovered that the 9 regions world source was still intact. It was a greater threat to them, so they had sent out even stronger experts to destroy the 9 regions world source. There was a great war 10,000 years ago. That means it won't be long before they start killing again. Night Sorrow's face was filled with shock. Yes, the time is near, but it is hard to say exactly when. Right now, all we can do is stabilize the 9 regions world. If someone with great luck can refine the space origin or the small world's core, they can repair this hole in space. Then, the 9 regions world will have a chance to unite again. However, this is just a theory, Clear Sky Saint King said to Night Sorrow. I entered a minor world and obtained its core, but I was unable to refine it, said Night Sorrow. What did you say? You have the world's origin. The Clear Sky Saint King stood up, his eyes filled with shock. Yes, show me. Night Sorrow roared, and used all his energy to activate his heavenly fate jewel. After this period of hard work, Night Sorrow was just barely able to activate his heavenly fate jewel. Following Night Sorrow's activation, the heavenly fate jewel appeared between his eyebrows. It revolved once before returning to Night Sorrow's divine sea. The void attribute is actually a supreme attribute. There's hope for our 9 regions world. Clear Sky Saint King's body trembled with excitement. Senior, I don't know when I'll be able to refine it, said Night Sorrow. Don't worry. You're a mid-level venerable right now. Once you reach the saint realm, you'll definitely be able to refine it. At that time, you'll be able to control a world and fuse it with the heavenly fate jewel. Then you'll be the ruler of the 9 regions world, an existence with supreme law energy. If they want to descend, haha, that's a joke, laughed the Clear Sky Saint King. At this moment, Night Sorrow sensed some spatial fluctuations. Night Sorrow even felt joy. That was the joy of the 9 regions world's origin. Brat, your karmic luck is really domineering. However, being able to pass through a spatial storm with just a mid-level venerable proves your strength, said the Clear Sky Saint King. It really isn't easy to talk about this. Originally, I was planning on coming to Clear Sky City to look for opportunities, to find a cultivation technique inheritance, and to get a title in the Heaven Sealing Palace. Who would have thought I'd meet Senior and learn so much, said Night Sorrow. If you want an inheritance, I have it. Later, my inheritance will be yours, said the Clear Sky Saint King. I'm really lacking a cultivation technique, because my current chi cultivation technique can only reach the saint level. After that, I don't have any more, said Night Sorrow. That's not a problem. My Clear Sky scripture can cultivate chi to the peak of the king realm. However, I don't have a body tempering inheritance. Back then, my subordinate, the Fist Emperor, Li Feng, cultivated the myriad Tao treasured tome. It was a secret tome that caused a storm of blood in the profound heaven world. However, after Li Feng died in battle, the secret tome is no longer available, said the Clear Sky Saint King. I'm currently cultivating the myriad Tao treasured tome. This myriad Tao treasured tome is the inheritance of the Fist Emperor, Li Feng, said Night Sorrow in surprise. You're cultivating the myriad Tao treasured tome. That's not right. Back then, Li Feng's cultivation base was higher than yours, but his body wasn't as strong as yours, said the Clear Sky Saint King. Night Sorrow told the Clear Sky Saint King that he had grasped the power of desolates and that the myriad Tao treasured tome had mutated. The power of desolates, that's the time attribute. Hee, you're truly the embodiment of the myriad Tao's love, said the Clear Sky Saint King as he looked at Night Sorrow. At that moment, Night Sorrow felt a change in his soul doppelganger. The energy it contained was rapidly increasing. He was worried that if he continued to strengthen it, his compatibility with his main body would decrease. Seeing Night Sorrow's frown, the Clear Sky Saint King asked. Night Sorrow told the Clear Sky Saint King about his feelings and worries. After that, the Clear Sky Saint King shook his head. He told Night Sorrow that he had taken his blood essence so that his doppelganger would be no different from his main body in the future. He could even have descendants. The other reason was to increase the compatibility. Therefore, there was no need for Night Sorrow to worry. The Clear Sky Saint King then took out a spatial ring and handed it to Night Sorrow. However, he told Night Sorrow that other than a high-grade saint artifact sword and a cultivation technique inheritance, he didn't have anything else in his collection. It wasn't that the Clear Sky Saint King didn't have anything in his collection. It was just that he had used a special method to absorb all the spiritual chi and energy in Clear Sky City to set up the 9 regions origin energy barrier. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow hadn't been able to find anything in Clear Sky City. I'm very sorry that I didn't leave anything for you. However, it was worth it to leave behind this stable 9 regions origin energy barrier, said the Clear Sky Saint King. Senior, there's still something I don't understand. What's going on with the spatial turbulence outside Clear Sky City? Why does it feel like a formation? Asked Night Sorrow. That's a second seal placed by the enemy. They don't want people from the 9 regions world to come here again. Fortunately, you're here, said the Clear Sky Saint King. Chapter 801. I hope they won't attack so early. If they attack early, our 9 regions world won't be able to hold on. Night Sorrow was a bit worried. Don't worry about winning or losing. So what if we lose once? Our 9 regions world has already lost a few times. Losing again isn't a big deal. The main thing is to win in the end, said the Clear Sky Sage King. But many people will die like this, said Night Sorrow. When you go back, tell everyone you can talk to have a backup plan. Back then, the other 2 Sage Kings and I had a backup plan. You guys should do the same, said the Clear Sky Sage King. The Clear Sky Sage King's next words shocked Night Sorrow. The 3 Sage Kings had opened up 3 different spaces, the Night Moon Sea, the Void Path Sky, and the Central Prefecture. Which senior opened up the Night Moon Sea? Night Sorrow stood up. I opened it up for my family's descendants. Why do you know about the Night Moon Sea? Asked the Clear Sky Sage King. He looked at Night Sorrow. I know about the Night Moon Sea. My name is Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said his name. Your surname is Night. That means you're my descendant. That's great. I'm Yi Qianhua, laughed the Clear Sky Sage King. He was truly happy. Originally, he was very happy that the 9 regions world's people had come here. Now that he knew Night Sorrow was his descendant, he was even happier. Ancestor, do you have no chance of living? Asked Night Sorrow. This is not a matter of opportunity. With the support of the 9 domain world's world origin energy, even a wisp of a remnant soul would not dissipate. Now, his lifespan has come to an end, Yi Qianhua said to Yi Shang. Can I use life spirit liquid? Asked Night Sorrow. It's no use. It's not a matter of resources. Resources can solve a problem. With the support of the Heaven Sealing Palace, how can it not be solved? My lifespan is at its limit, sighed Yi Qianhua. Night Sorrow didn't say anything else. He knew that the old ancestor's lifespan was coming to an end, and he felt a little sad. It's nothing. It's very tiring for me to live like this, but it's also a form of relief. To be able to see my descendants before the end of my life is also a very gratifying thing. Tell me about the Yi clan situation, Yi Qianhua said. Then, Night Sorrow started to talk about what he knew, all the way to the current situation. Night Moon Dynasty, Moon Emperor Yi Tian. You are indeed a genius. Tianjin Tower was built by the Saint King of the Void Dao. You are the young master of the Tianji Tower, so you can have some influence. If there is no hope of victory in the battle, let everyone retreat first. Those people are only attacking the high-level cultivators. They are still waiting for the low-level cultivators to grow, so they will ignore them. Yi Qianhua said to Night Sorrow. Because Yi Qianhua was a soul, the 2 of them could only communicate. They couldn't drink or drink. Then, Night Sorrow said that he wanted to get a title. You can, but there is no way to cheat. You need to rely on your strength. The Heaven Sealing Hall will set up a test. If you perform well, you will be given a title and receive the power of providence of the 9 zones, Yi Qianhua said to Night Sorrow. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow bowed to Yi Qianhua and walked towards the Heaven Sealing Hall. He knew that this was very important to him. A title recognized by the 9 zones world was very important. With Night Sorrow's arrival, the Heaven Sealing Hall's door opened. Yi Shang turned around to look at Yi Qianhua before walking in. Night Sorrow saw an endless staircase in front of him. He knew that this was the test. Stepping on the stairs, Night Sorrow felt the pressure. Just like a danding cliff and the space-time pagoda, the pressure came in waves. However, Night Sorrow was still used to it. He had experienced this kind of test before, whether it was at Danding Cliff or the space-time pagoda. As he walked, Night Sorrow calculated the pressure. After reaching level 400, Night Sorrow realized that the path forward was flat. He was not climbing upwards. Instead, he was moving forward against the pressure. However, as Night Sorrow walked forward for a while, the originally flat path once again appeared with rising steps. Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. He had reached the 400th step, which exceeded the pressure of a level 4 supremacy. There should not be rising steps. However, since the steps appeared, Night Sorrow would continue climbing. Since it was a test, and there was only one path, he could only continue climbing. Withstanding the pressure, Night Sorrow continued climbing. With his strong body, Night Sorrow reached the 500th step. Looking at the flat path ahead, Night Sorrow continued forward. After walking for a while, the rising steps appeared again. Night Sorrow took a deep breath and walked up the steps. Since there were steps, he had to go up. This time, Night Sorrow felt a lot of pressure. He then put up a protective shield and continued forward. With the Void Chi's protective shield's corrosive power, Night Sorrow was able to continue forward. After successfully climbing the 600th step, Night Sorrow's robe was soaked. At this time, Night Sorrow wanted to take out some origin spiritual liquid to replenish himself. However, he then realized that his storage ring was surrounded by a special energy, and he could no longer communicate with it. Night Sorrow shook his head. He understood. This was because the test did not allow the use of resources. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had his own way, and that was to slowly move forward and recover. Because he did not know what would happen next, it was important to recover his own energy. The pressure on the flat steps was not very strong. Night Sorrow recovered as he moved forward. When Night Sorrow's cultivation had recovered to 70%, the rising steps appeared again. It would be very difficult to get a title. This was Night Sorrow's thought. Looking at the steps in front of him, Night Sorrow took a deep breath. He shouted in his heart and began to climb. After reaching the 30th step, Night Sorrow could no longer hold on. At this time, Night Sorrow used spatial rend and slashed forward. The moment he broke through the pressure, Night Sorrow rushed up. After using spatial rend, Night Sorrow could rush up 20 steps. Then, the effect of the spatial rend would recover under the pressure. Night Sorrow then continued to use spatial rend. After 4 spatial rends, Night Sorrow reached the top of the 700th step. At this time, Night Sorrow was exhausted. There was no energy in his body. Just when Night Sorrow thought that he would be blown away by the pressure suddenly disappeared. The steps also disappeared. The place he was at had become a space rich in spirit chi. The first stage of the test has been completed. Night Sorrow has successfully passed the 3-level test. The second stage will begin in 2 hours. A voice sounded in Night Sorrow's ears. When Night Sorrow heard the voice, he began to meditate and recover. At this time, he felt that he could communicate with the storage ring. However, he did not need to eat resources to recover because the spirit chi here was very rich. Chapter 802. 2 hours later, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. He stood up and prepared to take the second test. The first test is the foundation test. The second test is the soul test. As long as you can last for 8 hours, you pass. If you fall to the ground or faint, you fail. The voice sounded in Night Sorrow's ears. Then, the space around Night Sorrow began to change. It turned into a small island with stars above his head. Just as Night Sorrow was observing, a majestic pressure appeared and pressed down on Night Sorrow. Soul pressure because this was a test, not an attack, the pressure came slowly. Because of this, the Void Fate Jewel didn't put up any defenses. It could tell what was an attack and what could threaten Yishan's life. Only D equals W, all other QD equals P were pirated. Night Sorrow took out the spiritual jade block and sat down cross-legged. He began to circulate his soul power to resist the pressure. The majestic pressure continued to press down on Night Sorrow's spirit sea. However, Night Sorrow could withstand it. While circulating his soul power to defend, Night Sorrow also placed the energy that was attacking his spirit sea into his spirit sea. As his soul power revolved to defend, it also refined the energy. At this moment, Night Sorrow was not only taking the test, but also cultivating. Night Sorrow sat there steadily. Even if the pressure increased, he did not notice. Night Sorrow was so engrossed in his cultivation that he forgot about the test. The majestic pressure stopped increasing after a certain point. It continued to suppress him. The reason Yi Shang was able to withstand the pressure from his soul was mainly because he had started cultivating his soul force earlier. Others would only open their divine sea after reaching the 5th stage, but Yi Shang had already opened his divine sea when he was at the 4th stage. He had already begun cultivating his soul force, and his soul force had long since surpassed his cultivation level. Night Sorrow did not know how much time had passed. He woke up from the spatial turbulence. The second test requires you to skip 3 levels. 2 hours later, the final test will be the test of combat ability. The voice rang out once more. If the clear sky Saint King Yi Qianhua had not explained it to Night Sorrow would have thought that it was the voice of the artifact spirit. Now, he knew that it was not because the heaven-sealing Great Hall was not a treasure. It was a way to display the 9 regions' origin source. In this second test, Night Sorrow did not expend much energy. Now, he was waiting for the arrival of the third test. 2 hours later, the space changed again. This place changed into a large martial arts practice field, but the surroundings were like a cage, which meant that there was no way to escape during the battle. There are a total of 9 waves of energy warriors. You only need to defeat 4 waves to obtain a title. However, the more waves you can withstand, the higher your title will be. The voice of the 9 zones origin appeared in Night Sorrow's ears again. Night Sorrow grabbed the reincarnation spear from his back and walked to the center of the martial arts practice field. Night Sorrow was not afraid of battles. Then, an energy warrior appeared in the martial arts practice field. Night Sorrow saw that this was an opponent of the same level as him. While Night Sorrow was observing, this energy warrior charged towards Night Sorrow. He slashed out with his battle saber, and the saber aura was very violent. Night Sorrow propped up his protective shield and slashed horizontally to the side. Then, the reincarnation spear shook and executed the 7-star glorious moon spear, attacking the opponent. This energy warrior waved his saber to block, but Night Sorrow's 7-star glorious moon spear was not easy to block. Night Sorrow's spear broke the energy warrior's battle saber and pierced the energy warrior's chest. After being hit by Night Sorrow's spear, this energy warrior dispersed. After a while, 2 energy warriors appeared and charged towards Night Sorrow again. Night Sorrow's protective shield had the ability to cut and was very fast. These 2 energy warriors could not keep up with Night Sorrow's speed and were killed by Night Sorrow in 2 rounds. Night Sorrow had just taken a breather when 4 energy warriors appeared in the martial arts practice field. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and started the battle. After a while, the 4 energy warriors fell under Night Sorrow's spear again. However, Night Sorrow also realized that these energy warriors had different attributes, combat skills, body movements, and skills. Then, 8 energy warriors appeared and surrounded Night Sorrow again. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and started the battle. He had already survived 4 waves and obtained a title. Night Sorrow treated the following battles as training. As the battle continued, Night Sorrow had already forgotten the concept of the previous waves. This was because he was surrounded by energy warriors with different attributes and combat skills. Night Sorrow fought incisively and vividly. They were all at the same level and there was no energy suppression. It was a competition of combat skills. Night Sorrow was not afraid of this. After 2 hours of battle, a dense crowd of energy warriors appeared on the training field. Using his soul power to scan, Night Sorrow discovered that there were a total of 99 level 4 supremacies and 1 level 7 supremacy. This is the last round of the test. It is also a test that has never appeared before. Now, I will give you some time to rest. After 1 hour, the last round of the challenge will begin. Of course, you can choose to give up because you have already obtained a title. The voice appeared in Night Sorrow's ears again. I will fight. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow would not let go of such a chance to train. After sitting down with his legs crossed, Night Sorrow realized that the continuous battles had depleted his vital chi and myriad Tao Tome's energy. His soul power was also exhausted. He was too engrossed in the battle just now and did not pay attention to his own condition. After consuming the Life Soul Liquid and Origin Spiritual Liquid, Night Sorrow held the Soul Crystal in his hand and started to fully recover. After 15 minutes, Night Sorrow had almost recovered. However, Night Sorrow was still meditating and cultivating. At the same time, he was organizing his thoughts on how to face the last battle. Night Sorrow knew that such a difficult test would not appear for no reason. There must be a reason for it to appear. If he could get through it, it would only be beneficial for him. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow stood up. He planned to use all his strength to get through the last round of the test. After displaying the reincarnation spear, Night Sorrow nodded, indicating that the battle could begin. As Night Sorrow nodded, all the energy warriors moved. All of them rushed towards Night Sorrow. The level 7 Honorable Energy Warrior Commander was at the front, holding a long spear in his hand. After one clash, Night Sorrow's body was sent flying. Before Night Sorrow could regain his balance, a battle blade slashed towards Night Sorrow's back. At this moment, Night Sorrow did something that would make anyone dumbfounded. He withdrew his protective shield. The energy warrior's battle blade landed on Night Sorrow's back. After cutting open his robe, it slid to the side. It did not break through Night Sorrow's defense at all. This was the reason why Night Sorrow withdrew his protective shield. He did not want to waste his vital chi. Anyway, a level 4 honorable energy warrior would not be able to break through his body. There was no need to waste his vital chi. Chapter 803. Night Sorrow did not care about the level 4 supremacy's attacks. He focused all his efforts on the level 7 Supremacy Energy Warrior Commander. The 7 Stars Glorious Moon Spear and Hand of Desolation continued to bombard the level 7 Supremacy Energy Warrior Commander. At this moment, the level 4 Supremacy Energy Warriors were no longer the level 4 Supremacy Energy Warrior Commander's assistants. Instead, they were his burdens. They were constantly blocking his path of movement and had endured too many of Night Sorrow's attacks for him. Spatial Rend. Night Sorrow roared. He performed the spatial rend, but he controlled its power. He could use the spatial energy, but there would not be any spatial rend. After performing the spatial rend, Night Sorrow activated his spatial energy shield. With a slash, he appeared in front of the level 7 Supremacy Energy Warrior Commander. Then, he performed the ultimate move of his 7 Stars Glorious Moon Spear Art, 7 Stars Glorious Moon Extreme Kill. Unable to dodge, the Energy Warrior Commander could only block with his spear. As he blocked, a part of his spear was melted. After breaking the Energy Warrior Commander's spear, Night Sorrow controlled his reincarnation spear to charge forward and pierce the Energy Warrior Commander's chest. Night Sorrow shook his reincarnation spear and the Energy Warrior Commander's body was destroyed. After solving the biggest problem, Night Sorrow roared. He waved his reincarnation spear and started to fight with the other level 4 Supremacy Energy Warriors. Night Sorrow would not be injured when fighting with the level 4 supremacy energy warriors. This was because his defense was stronger than his opponent's attack. It was only a matter of time before he defeated them. This battle was Night Sorrow's most satisfying battle. After an hour, Night Sorrow killed the last energy warrior with a single strike. You passed the test perfectly. The voice sounded. Night Sorrow looked at his torn battle robe. He changed into a new one and sat down cross-legged, planning to recover. Night Sorrow had just sat down cross-legged. Before he started to recover, a ball of light suddenly appeared. The light enveloped Night Sorrow, and under Night Sorrow's astonishment, the light shuttled back and forth within his body. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the light left Night Sorrow's body and turned into an energy body. I've investigated your situation. There are 2 titles that are suitable for you. Of course, you can also request for a title, but it's unknown whether you will be granted one, the energy figure said. GW, net first D hair, K, why is it unknown whether or not it can be given? Yishan didn't quite understand, so he asked. For example, if a supremacy passed the test and wanted the title of invincible supremacy, the title would not be given to him because he does not have the qualifications to be invincible, the energy figure explained. Then tell me which 2 titles are suitable for me, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. He didn't have any titles in mind, so he wanted to hear what the energy figure had to say about the heaven-sealing Great Hole. Your true chi is of the void attribute, so you can be given the title of void. Your body has the potential to become immortal, so you can also be given the title of immortal, the energy figure said to Night Sorrow. Then I'll be called immortal, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. He liked this title. Immortal Supremacy. This title is a bit big, but you have the qualifications. In the future, there won't be any more titles in the 9 regions world. This is the only title that belongs to you. Once you become a saint, you'll have to undergo another test. If you pass, you'll become an immortal saint, the energy figure said to Night Sorrow. I understand. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at the energy figure. The energy clone nodded and waved its arm. Suddenly, 2 golden characters appeared in the air. They were ancient characters, but Night Sorrow could recognize them. They were the 2 characters immortal. The 2 ancient characters churned in the air, constantly glowing. This title of yours is a peak title, and it contains a different meaning. In other words, the 9 regions world's origins acknowledge that you have the potential to become immortal. However, the 9 regions world's origins are broken, and I'm not a complete origin, so the amount of karmic luck I can give you is limited. Also, I heard your conversation with Sacred King Clear Sky. If you can repair the 9 regions world, I can control the 9 regions origins and fuse them into your body. When that time comes, you'll become the ruler of the 9 regions world. You'll be able to control the 9 regions world and prevent it from being invaded. In fact, the 9 regions world will be able to evolve into a supreme world, the energy figure said to Night Sorrow. But I know that 2 of the 9 regions origins have already recognized a master. Can the 9 regions origins be fused again? Will that affect them? Night Sorrow asked. Of course I know. Of the 9 domain essences, the Dongxian essence and Nonli essence have acknowledged me as their master, but that's only a superficial acknowledgement. My true self can take them back. My true self scattered the 9 domain essences all over the world in order to find a master for the 9 domains, but they aren't suitable. My true self isn't an essence body right now. I'm the core essence energy of the 9 domain essences, and I can control the 9 fragmented essences. If I want to take them back, I can. Should I take them back now? No, I don't want that. The people who refined the 2 origins are related to me. I don't want them to be hurt, Night Sorrow said. When you're able to mend the entire world, I'll consider leaving some origin energy for the 2 of you after retrieving the origin energy. It won't harm them either. The energy body, which was the 9 realms' origin energy, explained to Night Sorrow. While Night Sorrow was communicating with the 9 regions' origins, golden light appeared in the sky all over the 9 regions' world. The golden light tumbled for a while and then turned into 2 symbols, which then turned into 2 ancient characters. The ancient characters floated high in the sky and shone in all directions. On an island in the realm sea, Xia Longjun and the other saints had arrived at the eastern Xian region's camp. Wu Lingfei was also here. Everyone was looking at the 2 ancient characters dancing in the sky. A titled expert has appeared. It's actually an immortal titled expert. This has never happened before in the 9 regions world, said Long Xianxing. Lord Long Xianxing, what's going on? Asked Xia Longjun. Someone entered the heaven sealing palace, passed the test, and obtained a taboo title. Who is it? Long Xianxing narrowed his eyes and pondered. Senior, what is a taboo title? Asked Wu Lingfei. A title based on one's accomplishments and attribute is a taboo title. The appearance of such a title means that the heaven sealing palace believes that the person who obtained the title can reach the peak of an attribute. Such a title shouldn't appear in the world, muttered Long Xianxing. We can't even get close, but someone actually obtained a taboo title. What's going on? Nan Ganxing looked at the group of people in confusion. We can't, but that doesn't mean others can't. The 9 regions world is about to change, said Long Xianxing. Just now, Dongshuan's origin chi trembled and wanted to leave my body. I couldn't suppress it, but it stabilized later, said Wu Lingfei. Chapter 804. The golden light bathed the 9 regions world for a while before dispersing. Within the heaven sealing palace, the 2 ancient characters in the air spun and merged into Night Sorrow's body. Cultivators have to fight against the heavens. The world is the same. It's also a fight against the heavenly Tao. The future of the 9 regions world depends on you. The energy body sighed. Then can I bring others here to get a title? Asked Night Sorrow. Of course. You can leave now. The energy body waved its arm, and Night Sorrow's energy surged. Then Night Sorrow appeared at the entrance of the heaven sealing palace. Good kid, you've become a titled immortal. That's really amazing. Clear Sky Saint King looked at Night Sorrow with gratification. It wasn't easy to get this title, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Clear Sky Saint King then told Night Sorrow about some of the problems with the Clear Sky scripture. Then Night Sorrow planned to leave. He planned to bring some people to the heaven sealing palace to get a title. After all, the karmic luck of the 9 regions world was a huge benefit. Night Sorrow, don't bring too many people in. The 9 regions origin energy situation isn't too good right now. If you bring in a large group of people, it'll be a huge burden on her, said Clear Sky Saint King to Night Sorrow. Yes, I'll bring some people who are close to me, Yishan said. At this moment, a thought appeared in Yishang's mind, and that was to not exceed 20 people. This was the current limit of the 9 regions origin energy. If it exceeded this number, she would not open the heaven sealing hole. Night Sorrow knew that this was the 9 regions origin energy's meaning. It'll be very difficult for you to go back and forth, said Clear Sky Saint King to Night Sorrow. Can you set up a teleportation formation? Asked Night Sorrow. It's useless. There are spatial storms raging outside Clear Sky City. When you teleport, it'll be easy for the spatial turbulence to destroy the spatial channel. The result will be death, said Clear Sky Saint King. Then I can only continue to travel through the void turbulence. Night Sorrow exhaled. There's nothing we can do about it, Clear Sky Saint King said. Following this, the Clear Sky Saint King told Night Sorrow that he wouldn't appear anymore. As for the other things, if it wasn't necessary, he shouldn't tell anyone else. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and understood. He knew that this would cause panic. Some things needed to be done by himself. Even if he told others, it would be meaningless. Child, you have to be careful. The 9 regions world already knows about the immortal title. If you go out and bring others here, you won't be able to hide the fact that you have an immortal title. Killing people to steal fate has happened from time to time. Clear Sky Saint King said to Night Sorrow. I'll be careful. Night Sorrow nodded. Also, there's a map in the storage ring I gave you. It has the symbols of the world passages around the 9 regions world. The Netherworld is a very warlike world. It often fights with the 9 regions world. The Nether beasts are very powerful. They're the most warlike race under the Nether race. Clear Sky Saint King reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. Then he told him about the Supreme River Space and the Netherworld, as well as the relationship between them and Clear Sky City. This is troublesome. War will happen sooner or later. The other thing you have to pay attention to is the Profound Mysteries realm. It's a human world and has a very strong desire to fight. They attacked us once, but they were defeated by Void Dao Saint King. You have to go and take a look. We can't let them rise, said Clear Sky Saint King. Isn't that tantamount to invasion? Night Sorrow said. He was a little disgusted by the idea of invasion. It's not invasion. Whether it's the Netherworld or the Profound Mysteries realm, they both want to take over our 9 regions world. It's not the first time they've started a war. Attacking them is a form of defense. Clear Sky Saint King saw Night Sorrow's concern and smiled. Then I'm relieved. Since they want to take over our 9 regions world, we'll fight back, Night Sorrow said. Remember, repairing the 9 regions world is the most important thing. Alright, I'll go to the sky ceiling hall to recover a little. Then, I'll stabilize the 1000 derivation Great Formation. That way, when the spatial storm outside dissipates, Clear Sky City can still exist. The 9 regions origin protective shield is not afraid of the attacks of the Otherworlders. We'll kill as many as we can, but we're afraid of the 9 regions world's people destroying it. Later, I'll set up some formations. The 1000 derivation killing formation and 1000 derivation illusory formation are in the storage ring I gave you. You can come and go as you please in the future, Clear Sky Saint King told Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. After that, Night Sorrow left the sky ceiling hall and flew toward the edge of the realm sea. The chaotic spatial storm's existence gave Night Sorrow a headache. The main problem was that it consumed a lot of energy, but it was unavoidable. After spending a day in 2000 high-grade spirit stones, Night Sorrow returned to the island in the realm sea where he and Xueshi were staying. You're back. Xueshi threw herself into Night Sorrow's arms when she saw Night Sorrow. I'm back, and I even got a title, Night Sorrow said as he hugged Xueshi. I'm very angry. You abandoned me at a critical moment and ran away by yourself, Xueshi said as she punched Night Sorrow's shoulder. Night Sorrow wrapped Xueshi up and entered the spacetime pagoda. Xueshi immediately asked Night Sorrow about his trip to Clear Sky City. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything from Xueshi and told her about the situation in detail. I see. I know about the Central Province Prefecture. It's the territory of Ji Yu's family, but I don't know about Su Dao Tian. I just didn't expect Night Moon's family to be the descendants of Clear Sky Sage King. It seems that you're the hope of the 9 realms, Xueshi said. I plan to go back and call Grandpa, Father, Mother, Aunt Faye, and Godslayer's little brother, the 3 supremacies. I'll also call a few saints from the Celestial Terminus Tower to go to the Heaven Sealing Great Hall to get a title, Yishang said. Then I'll meet the people from Tianji Tower. If Xiao Lanjun recognizes me, it'll be troublesome. I don't want to cause any trouble, and I don't want you to waste time explaining, Xueshi said. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I won't put you on the same floor as the others. That way, there won't be any possibility of you meeting each other. As for the test, I'll think of a way to split you into several groups. Get on the QDZ network as soon as possible. Xuexi thought for a moment and nodded. She respected Night Sorrow's idea very much. I want to be with you, Xuexi said as she hugged Night Sorrow's neck. You're simply a fairy, okay? Night Sorrow nodded. After the passion, Night Sorrow released the airship and set off for Clear Sky City. Chapter 805. Sitting in the flying ship, Night Sorrow opened the Clear Sky Sage King's storage ring. When the Clear Sky Sage King had given the storage ring to Night Sorrow, he had erased the soul imprint on the storage ring. Night Sorrow took out a sword with spatial energy fluctuations. Night Sorrow knew that this was a high-grade saint artifact. It was the Clear Sky Sage King's sword. You're not going to give it away again, are you? You have the spatial attribute. This sword is very suitable for you. You can also cultivate sword arts, said Xuexi. I want to give it to my grandfather, said Night Sorrow. It's useless. Even if you give it to him, he just became a saint. He won't be able to use it. You should keep it for now, said Xuexi to Night Sorrow. She was thinking from Night Sorrow's point of view. Then let's wait and see, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a moment. Next, Night Sorrow took out an ancient book. It was the Clear Sky scripture left behind by the Clear Sky Sage King. After putting away the Clear Sky scripture, Night Sorrow took out 2 diagrams. Then he took out a map of the 9 regions world and the surrounding worlds. Night Sorrow looked at the map and found that it was very different from the current 9 regions world. He could only make a rough estimate. The 9 regions world from 10,000 years ago was completely different from the current 9 regions world. After tidying up, Night Sorrow stretched his waist. That's all? Asked Xuexi to Night Sorrow. Yes, that's all. When I have time, I'll go cultivate the Clear Sky scripture. It'll take some time to change from the Sacred Cauldron scripture to the Clear Sky scripture, said Night Sorrow. 10,000 years ago, the continent's first Saint King only had so little resources. That's ridiculous, muttered Xuexi. Sigh, you don't know the whole story. This upper-grade sacred artifact, Sky-Slashing Sword, has probably been with him for a long time. The Clear Sky Sage King couldn't bear to part with it. He took out all the other resources and used them to construct the 9 regions origin defensive shield. Night Sorrow explained the reason why Clear Sky City didn't have any resources and spiritual chi. So that's the case. It's really not easy. After knowing the reason, Xuexi nodded her head. After arriving at Haohai City, Night Sorrow received the sky ship and Snow Dusk. They arrived at the teleportation point and began to teleport back to Sky City. After meeting with Yilinglan, Night Sorrow asked about his mother. After learning that his mother was still in Sky City, Night Sorrow asked Yilinglan to inform Yilinghuan and his father to look for him. Then, he returned to his mansion. Son, you ran for a long time, Yu Qing said when she saw Night Sorrow return. Mother, I'm back, Night Sorrow said with a smile. V only, 1 N, and all others O is O pirated, big brother, when you're not home, Mother talks about you every day. She can't wait to talk about you, said Yin Yan with a smile. Night Sorrow smiled and got up to make tea. However, Xuexi was very understanding. She took the tea set from Night Sorrow's hands and began to make tea. Don't tell me she has the potential to become a sister-in-law. Yin Yan smiled as she looked at Xuexi and muttered. A child like you shouldn't speak nonsense. Yu Qing glared at Yin Yanxiao. Soon after, Yilinghuan arrived. While everyone was drinking tea together, Yi Wuyo also arrived at the residence. What is it? What do you need me to do? Yi Wuyo looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He was afraid that his son would be wronged. There are no outsiders here, so I'll get straight to the point. Night Sorrow said that he had entered Haotian City and obtained a title. You mean you can bring some people in? Yi Linghuan looked at Night Sorrow with some surprise. Yes, but not too many. Grandfather, you can arrange it, Night Sorrow said to Yi Linghuan. Your parents must go. Grandfather will not decline. Night Moon also has 4 emperors. In addition, your 6th uncle, King Linghuan, should also go. Isn't there a bit too many people? After Yi Linghuan mentioned a few people, he smiled at Night Sorrow. This was because there were 8 people. I'm the one who will bring people in. I'm from Night Moon, so others naturally can't say anything. In addition, our god-slaying squad has 3 venerables. Yun Huang, Ling Long, and Liang Yu will also go. That's 11 people, Night Sorrow said. Besides the people from Night Moon's dynasty, Wu Lingfei and Long Xianqing must go. As for the people from Medicine Valley, Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that he should put them aside. After all, the venerables from Medicine Valley were not very strong, and there was some gap between them and the venerables from the god-slaying squad. It was meaningless for them to go. Including Xuexi, there were 14 people in total. Then there were the people from Tianjin Tower, including Xie Lanjun, Lin Yuandao, Gui Shao, Le Trin Xuan, and Hua Haining. As for the people from the North Sea region, Night Sorrow could not take care of them. Night Sorrow planned to give the people from Tianjin Tower 5 places. As for the people from Tianjin Tower, they should make their own arrangements. How about it? Do you have enough places? Yi Linghuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, let's forget about the Medicine Valley. After all, it's not easy to get a title. There's still one more place. Let's see who we can give it to. Then give it to the monarch of the Yun dynasty. This is Grandpa's selfishness. The Taiqing domain must rise. Yi Linghuan said again. Grandpa, I need absolute trust to take everyone there. We need to enter my space sacred treasure. It can be said that I'm putting their lives in my hands. This time, I'm going to spend thousands of high-grade spirit stones. It's a thankless task. Night Sorrow expressed his concerns. That's true. Grandpa, let him know. If he goes, he'll have to pay the spirit stones. Yi Linghuan said. Then Yi Linghuan left Sky City and went to inform Yun Tianlong. Son, you were the one who made the golden light that filled the sky. You're so domineering. Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. It's really not easy. However, it seems that I passed the examination and got a top-level forbidden title. Even if it's difficult for others, there should be a limit. Mother, you can do it. Night Sorrow said with a smile. While they were talking, Yang Lei and the others returned. Looking at Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi, Night Sorrow told them about this matter. The 3 of them were not venerables and could not participate. Then, Night Sorrow apologized to Sikong Chiyu. He could not take care of the Sikong family at the moment. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Sikong Chiyu shook his head. This is the big picture. The people you chose were all chosen for a reason. In terms of qualifications, Yun Huang, Ling Long, and Liang Yu are a bit inferior. However, they are all very outstanding. If they have luck, they will grow faster in the future. Night Sorrow explained the reason for the 3 members of the god-slaying team. Night Sorrow was still thinking about Tianyu. When the time came, he could only communicate with the 9 regions' origin energy alone. Aoi then called Yun Huang and the others over. Night Sorrow told them about this matter. The 3 of them were very happy. Of course, they knew how rare this opportunity was. Then, Yishin Xian, Yishin Yue, Yishin Lei, and Yishin Kuang all came. Night Moon and the Emperor, but because of the previous battle, their cultivation was either destroyed or they had no future. 2 hours later, Yiling Huan also returned. Yun Tianlong is really disappointing. He told the family that he was looking for a breakthrough and then disappeared. Chapter 806. Night Sorrow then nodded at Sikong Chuyu. Then I'll go home and inform my father, Sikong Chuyu said and left the city in the sky. Sigh, my old man can't even drink soup, let alone eat meat, Yun Huang said bitterly. With the teleportation array, Sikong Chuyu was very fast. He brought his father back in half an hour. Sikong Chuyu gave an introduction to everyone. Sikong Tianding bowed to the 4 emperors of Night Moon, then cupped his hands to Yiling Huan, Yi Wuyo, and Yu Qing. In-law, I'm very sorry. Because I've been in seclusion recently, I didn't visit Night Sorrow's mother. Yi Wuyo cupped his hands to Sikong Tianding. That's understandable. Chuyu's mother has also been in seclusion recently, so she didn't come, Sikong Tianding said. Knet head. You hair. Yiling Huan told Sikong Tianding about entering Night Sorrow's space-time pagoda because he was handing his life over to Night Sorrow. Ha, a son-in-law is half a son. How can I not trust him? Sikong Tianding said with a smile. As for trusting Night Sorrow and Night Moon's emperors, there was naturally no problem. As for the 3 members of the God-slaying team, there was even less of a problem. Then you guys go in. I'll go to Tianji Tower again, then we'll set off for that small island. Night Sorrow held the space-time pagoda in his right hand and told everyone not to resist. Then, he transferred them to the 50th floor of the pagoda and Xueshi to the 60th floor. After putting everyone into the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow went to the lake and also put Tianyu, who was cultivating, into the pagoda. Then, he rushed to Tianji Tower. When he arrived at Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow saw Lin Yuandao and Guoxiao. Night Sorrow said that he could enter Haotian City and the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Then, he said that he could give Lin Yuandao 5 spots, excluding Wuling Fei. Then let's go to that island first. I'll discuss this with the Supreme Elder. Lin Yuandao thought for a moment, then called for Guoxiao and Hua Haining to follow Night Sorrow to the island in the Realm Sea. In the camp of the Eastern Xian region, Night Sorrow saw Long Xianxing, Wuling Fei, Xie Lanjun, and the others. However, Nan Ganxing and Jinhai Xing were not there. They had brought their own people elsewhere. As for this matter, it depends on everyone's situation. After all, this is the same as putting your lives in my hands. If you are worried, then forget it. After all, I can't afford to pay a large amount of spirit stones and be suspected. After explaining the situation, Night Sorrow also explained his own intentions. I'm not afraid, ah. Long Xianxing laughed. Wuling Fei smiled and nodded at Night Sorrow. When it came to trust, the person she trusted the most was Night Sorrow. I'm very grateful that you can give me 5 spots in Tianji Tower. Also, it's going to cost a lot of spirit stones. Xie Lanjun looked at Night Sorrow. No one would believe me even if I told them. I made a trip there myself, and a few thousand high-grade spirit stones were gone. I spent a lot of energy traveling through the spatial storms, so I had to enter the pagoda of spacetime to recover. When the time comes, the pagoda of spacetime will have to withstand the spatial storms. It will require a lot of energy from spirit stones. Night Sorrow smiled bitterly. Tianji Tower will pay for this. What do you think, Master K? Xie Lanjun looked at Lin Yuandao. Elder Hua, did you bring spirit stones? Lin Yuandao looked at Hua Haining. Hua Haining was the elder in charge of managing resources in Tianji Tower. I only brought 4,000 high-grade spirit stones with me. Hua Haining took out a spatial ring. How about this? I'll use top-grade spirit stones in exchange. Using top-grade spirit stones isn't worth it. Night Sorrow took out 40 top-grade spirit stones. Don't be like this. We don't feel good about cheating our juniors. You giving 5 spots to Tianji Tower is already very rare. We appreciate it, said Xiaolongjun. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. He put away the spatial ring Hua Haining had given him. Night Sorrow, Aunt Fei has 1,000 high-grade spirit stones. I don't need them right now. Take them. Wu Lingfei also took out 2 spatial belts. Aunt Fei, I really don't need them. Night Sorrow shook his head. Be good. Aunt Fei doesn't need spirit stones for cultivation right now. Besides, if you want to use them, use top-grade spirit stones. Wu Lingfei pulled on Night Sorrow's hand and stuffed the spatial belts into Night Sorrow's hand. Then Senior Xia, Master K, please discuss the arrangements for the spots. We can leave at any time, said Night Sorrow. Xiaolonju nodded and entered the tent with Lin Yuandao and the others. After all, there were still many people in Tianji Tower. The matter of the spots needed to be discussed. A moment later, the results came out. Xiaolonjun, Lin Yuandao, Guoshao, Hua Haining, and Le Trins won. Li Changtian was currently in the eastern Xian region, so he couldn't make it. After making the decision, Night Sorrow brought them into the spacetime pagoda and then flew back to where he had entered the Realm Sea last time. After arriving at the edge of the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow rested for a moment and then flew into the Realm Sea. With the experience of transmigrating, Night Sorrow had to work very hard this time. It took him a day and 3,000 high-grade spirit stones to reach Supreme Sky City. Arriving at Vast Sky City, Night Sorrow's consumption decreased. After transmigrating, he rested and recovered, and then transmigrated again. After a few times, Night Sorrow arrived at an area without spatial storms. Then, Night Sorrow brought everyone out. Of course, Shueshi was still in the spacetime pagoda. Seeing everyone's surprised expressions, Night Sorrow explained the reason for the situation. Then, Night Sorrow brought everyone to the 9 Regions Origin Energy Shield. This 9 Regions Origin Energy Shield isn't harmful to the people of the 9 regions, but it's a great weapon against outsiders. It's also the last layer of protection for the Heaven Sealing Great Hole. After explaining, Night Sorrow brought everyone into the 9 Regions Origin Energy Shield. As everyone approached the Heaven Sealing Great Hall, the door opened, and a group of people entered. Tianyu followed everyone in. After everyone entered, Night Sorrow looked at the Heaven Sealing Great Hall. Senior 9 Regions, are you here? You really brought 20 people. The 9 Regions Origin Energy's voice sounded in Night Sorrow's ears. I still have some people here. I didn't bring them because I didn't dare to hurt you, said Night Sorrow. You have another person's aura on you. Let her go. One more person won't make a difference. The 9 Regions Origin Energy expressed its intention. Night Sorrow hurriedly let Shueshi out and let her go to the Heaven Sealing Great Hole. This group of people has good potential. The 9 regions still have hope. The 9 Regions Origin Energy communicated with Night Sorrow. The last person should be separated from the others. When she comes out, change to another place. I'll directly put her into the spacetime pagoda. Night Sorrow said. This is a small matter. I can help you tell you that it can only limit 20 people because the 9 Regions Origin Energy can't be used. It's hard to replenish it. If you continue to use it, it won't be worth it. However, once the 9 Regions world is repaired, there won't be this drawback. You have a supreme attribute world. At that time, the world law's power will be stronger than before the 9 Regions world was destroyed. It will be difficult for the experts of the profound sky world to descend. The 9 regions origin energy communicated with night sorrow. Chapter 807. He's not good. This senior knows a lot about him. Over the years, we have often communicated. He has reincarnated a few times, but because the conditions of the 9 regions world were not good enough, he was unable to break through to the Saint King realm. Therefore, in this life, he persevered until the end of his lifespan and refused to reincarnate. He wanted to persevere for the 9 regions world until the end. The 9 regions world source conveyed the news that shocked night sorrow. That's indeed the case. It's better for me to say it than him. Yi Qianhua's figure appeared. When you cultivate the clear heaven scripture that I gave you to a certain extent, you will discover some of the information I left behind. Of course, there's also the possibility of not discovering it. After you left last time, I thought a lot and felt that there are some things I can tell you. The clear heaven Saint King looked at night sorrow and said. Following the clear heaven Saint King's narration, night sorrow learned some unknown secrets. The Yi clan was once a very famous clan in the profound sky world. It was one of the top clans in the South Sky Empire. At that time, the eldest son of the Yi clan even married the princess of the South Sky Empire. However, because the eldest son of the Yi clan was extremely talented, the crown prince of the South Sky Empire felt threatened and set up a trap to frame the Yi clan with the crime of betrayal. Did you know that the Yi clan was the #1 clan in the South Sky Empire? But because of suspicion, the crown prince used despicable methods. He used the eldest son of the eldest son as a threat to cripple the cultivation of the eldest son of the Yi clan and the princess of the South Sky Empire. In the end, he cruelly killed the 2 of them. The clear heaven Saint King sighed. Looking at night sorrow, the clear heaven Saint King's face was filled with misery. Do you really want to know why I know so much? It's because I'm the child of the eldest son of the Yi clan and the princess of the South Sky Empire. I'm that child. Night sorrow felt very sad in his heart because he felt the pain of the clear heaven Saint King Yi Qianhua. After the war started, some of my clansmen and I were sent to the 9-domain world by the patriarch of the Yi clan, who is also my grandfather. I was unwilling to give up. I missed my father and mother, so I decided to take revenge. After that, I experienced 3 great massacres in the sky profound world, and every time, my body would be torn apart. Then, my soul would reincarnate and fight again. After the last great battle, my heart was tired, because I could not see any hope. Old ancestor, you can reincarnate, night sorrow said anxiously. 10,000 years ago, when the 9 regions world was destroyed, my heart died, and I gave up on reincarnation. The disaster of the 9 regions world was brought about by the Yi clan and their subordinate clans, so even if I gave up on reincarnation, I still had to work hard for the 9 regions world. Now, I see hope, but it's too late to reincarnate. Night sorrow didn't want to see Yi Qianhua's sad ending. Maybe my father and mother will die. Perhaps I'll only be able to see my father and mother if I die completely. People say that after living for a long time, you'll become numb. But the longer I live, the more I miss them. I can't hold on anymore. Child, live well. Living well is more important than anything else. Yi Qianhua sighed and disappeared from Yi Shang's sight. He's cooperating with the Heaven Sealing Great Hall, which means he's cooperating with me to strengthen your soul clone. He doesn't have the ability to come out and see you again. Maybe you can calm the regret in his heart. The 9 regions origin Qi expressed a thought and disappeared in front of night sorrow. Night sorrow felt very sad. Because of his ancestors' grief, he deeply felt the pain in Yi Qianhua's heart. Clenching his teeth, night sorrow felt that he had the ability to do something for Yi Qianhua. Because that was his ancestor. His ancestor had been wronged. As a descendant, he had the responsibility to avenge his ancestor. Night Sorrow also understood the origins of the Night Moon Empire. The Night Moon Empire was a family in the sky profound world. They couldn't withstand the despicable methods of others and were forced to develop in the Nine Regions world. Feeling the grief in Yi Qianhua's heart, Night Sorrow felt very depressed. It could be said that it was the shame of the Yi clan. Night Sorrow felt that if there was a day when the Night Moon Empire could trample the Sky South Empire under their feet, then it would be considered as washing away their shame. As long as I'm alive, I will definitely avenge my ancestor and the Yi clan. I will definitely let the Night Moon Empire stand at the peak. Night Sorrow, who had this thought, shouted towards the heaven-sealing Great Hall. At this moment, in a separate space in the heaven-sealing Great Hall, Yi Qianhua was sitting cross-legged. There was a special array in front of him. The jade container that contained Night Sorrow's blood and soul clone was within the array. Clear Sky Sage King, your past few lives have been tragic. However, this descendant of yours is a good person. Now, you don't have to care about this anymore. Go and reincarnate. Due to your efforts for the Nine Regions world, I can give you a strand of origin energy to support you. It will allow you to complete your reincarnation before the end of your life. The Nine Regions origin energy said to Yi Qianhua's soul. But this will be a form of harm to you. Yi Qianhua's originally lifeless eyes lit up. #forever free Yufi. Look at the small video camera. Cultivators are virtuous. You have done good deeds for the Nine Regions, so I naturally have to do something for you. Go and reincarnate. With the protection of the reincarnation force, the spatial storm outside will not be a threat to you. As for the array that needs to be set up outside, you have already set up the array foundation. Later on, when I recover, all you need to do is to pour energy into it. The Nine Regions origin energy separated a ray of light and entered Yi Qianhua's soul clone. Yi Qianhua stood up and bowed to the Nine Regions origin energy. Then, a mixed white light appeared on his body and he disappeared from the heaven-sealing Great Hall. While Night Sorrow was thinking, a golden light appeared in the sky above the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Moreover, the golden light continued to appear. Night Sorrow knew that someone had passed the test. Then, more and more people appeared. The first to appear was Yilinghuan. Grandpa, the Sky Slayer title is yours, right? Night Sorrow asked. He had seen the Sky Slayer title just now. It was the first to appear. The light had also covered the other titles. Yes. Yilinghuan smiled and began to meditate. Then, other people appeared. However, most of the titles were in their own names or their previous code names. Wu Lingfei's title was Golden Phoenix, Yilinghuan's title was Wuyo, and Yu Qing's title was Qing Fei. While everyone was resting, Night Sorrow left the front of the heaven-sealing Great Hall and walked to an area where no one was paying attention to. Then, he put Xue Shi, who had been sent out by the Nine Regions origin energy, into the 60th floor of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Then, he returned to the main entrance of the heaven-sealing Great Hall. At this time, everyone came out. Not everyone had obtained a title. Ling Long didn't get one. Lutrin Swan didn't get one. Neither did the Sikong Heavenly Cauldron. The three of them had failed the test. The three of them were very sad because this opportunity had not come easily. However, the three of them had wasted it. No one could do anything about this. The heaven-sealing Great Hall's test had different levels of difficulty depending on the level of the examinee. The standard for a half-saint was the standard for a half-saint. If you weren't at the top of this level, you wouldn't get a title. Don't worry. This is nothing. Just come back after cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Captain, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I've embarrassed our god-slaying squad, Ling Long said in a low voice. Chapter 808. Then everyone sat down to cultivate and stabilize their cultivation bases. Obtaining a title was equivalent to obtaining some of the 9 regions' karmic luck, as well as some energy to refine. Don't bring anyone here for 3 years. Every 3 years, 5 people can come. However, those who participate once can't come again for 20 years. In 2 months, the 1000 derivation killing formation and 1000 derivation illusory formation will appear. Aside from you, who has the clear sky sacred king's formation diagram, no one else can enter. The 9 regions' origin energy's voice rang out in Night Sorrow's mind. Chapter 9a Section JT 04 hours later, everyone who had been meditating stood up. No one celebrated, the 9 domains world was already in such a state, so there was nothing to celebrate. Moreover, there were still 3 people who had not passed the examination, so celebrating would make them feel uncomfortable. Then if there's nothing else, we can go back, said Night Sorrow. Then they entered the spacetime tower. Night Sorrow had to go through the spatial storms of the realm's sea and return to the island. Once they were on the island, Night Sorrow let them out. Night Sorrow, thank you. Xiao Longjun cupped her hands toward Night Sorrow. That's nothing. There are still some things. This time, because there was a limit to the number of people, I didn't bring some. Senior Xia, please help me explain. I'm especially sorry about martial uncles, Yi Shang said to Xia Longjun. I will tell them about it, Xia Longjun said. Tell Uncle Master that I'll bring her in 3 years, said Night Sorrow. The Uncle Master of the Eastern Xian region was supporting him. Adding on the fact that the Medicine Valley's resources were expanding into the North Sea, Night Sorrow felt like he had to help the Uncle Master. What about in 3 years? Asked Lin Yuandao. There were many sovereigns in the Tianjin Tower, so he naturally paid attention to it. Yes, but don't worry about the spots. There are only 5 people. This time, I didn't even bring my master. Next time, my 3 fiancés will enter. Night Sorrow directly refused. He needed the spots himself. It was already good enough that he could give one to his Uncle Master. You've already helped the Tianjin Tower a lot. I shouldn't have such thoughts, said Lin Yuandao apologetically. He knew his request wasn't appropriate. If he had known there were only 5 spots, he wouldn't have asked. Sir Tower Lord, I have 3 fiancés. 2 of them are from the Extreme Heaven Tower, and so am I, Yi Shang smiled and said. Then Lin Yuandao and the Tianjin Tower's people laughed. Night Sorrow was from Tianjin Tower. That was enough. The Tianjin Tower would take the lion's share of the benefits. Night Sorrow also told everyone not to stay here and not to wait for the spatial storm to dissipate. Even if the spatial storm dissipated, no one would be able to get close to the heaven ceiling hole. The 1000 development illusory formation and the killing formation were the clear sky saint's consummate skills. Even a saint wouldn't be able to break it if their formation skills weren't good enough. Then the group left the island. Some of them went to the Tianji Tower, while others went to Sky City. Wu Lingfei also followed Night Sorrow to Sky City. Aunt Fei, there's nothing in the Eastern Xian region. You can stay here with me, said Night Sorrow. Actually, I didn't tell you. My spiritual avatar is in the Eastern Xian region. If there's anything, I'll take care of it, said Wu Lingfei. After saying that, Wu Lingfei was stunned. She had inadvertently glanced at Night Sorrow's waist. She saw that the pouch that had been holding Night Sorrow's spiritual avatar had disappeared. Yi Shang also looked at his waist. He had no choice but to give up on this matter. There was nothing he could do about it. Where did your spiritual avatar go? Who attacked you? Wu Lingfei's expression turned cold. Killing chi could be felt. It's in the heaven ceiling hole. Other than Night Moon, there's only you here. There's no one else. I'll tell you what I saw this time. In the future, we'll all need to work together. Night Sorrow sighed. He told her about the 9 regions' origin energy and the clear sky Saint King's words. He also told her about what had happened before Night Moon. Ancestor is so pitiful. Night Shinue wiped the corner of her eyes. The other women also had sparkling tears in their eyes. I obtained his inheritance. Furthermore, as a descendant of the Night clan, if there's a chance, I'll get justice for my ancestor. I'll get justice for my ancestor and Night Moon, said Night Sorrow. This isn't your responsibility alone. It's the responsibility of the entire Night clan. It's the responsibility of the Night Moon dynasty. We'll remember the Heavenly South dynasty. Our Night Moon dynasty will rise again, said Yilinghuan to Night Sorrow. We can't rush this matter. No matter what, we have to stabilize the 9 regions world first. With a stable backer, we can fight however we want. Using our 9 regions world saint crystals as materials is a great humiliation to us, said Wu Lingfei. Grandfather knows the name of the profound mysteries realm. I also know its general location. It should be in the western nether region, said Yilinghuan after thinking for a moment. The clear sky Saint King said that they've always wanted to attack our 9 regions world. That's one of the reasons why our 9 regions world is unstable. If we can find a spatial channel, we'll kill our way in. We won't give them a chance to attack us, said Night Sorrow. All right. You don't need to worry about that. Grandfather will go investigate, said Yilinghuan. In addition, our family's Night Moon Sea needs to be strengthened. If the profound sky world starts a war with our 9 regions world before I can fix it, then our high-level cultivators will have to retreat, said Night Sorrow to Yilinghuan. I'll take care of that. Don't worry, Night Sorrow. There'll be a stable backup for you here, said Night Sorrow. Tianji Tower was founded by Sage King Xuedao. I'll have to ask Grand Elder Xia and Lord Lin Ke about the Xuedao sky. I'll also have to make some arrangements. As for the GU family, although I don't want to resolve it, for the sake of the 9 regions world, it'll be best if it can be resolved, said Night Sorrow. After making some arrangements, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei rushed to Tianji Tower. He had to communicate with Tianji Tower. After all, the 9 regions world was in a difficult situation. It was best to make as many preparations as possible. The 6th update has arrived, please be more tolerant, do not directly open your mouth to attack. At this moment, in Qingtian City, Jiu family's mansion, Jiu Hao kicked a woman out of the room. Night Sorrow, I'll definitely kill you. Sikong Chuyu is mine. Jiu Hao roared angrily after kicking the woman out of the room. How, this has become a sore point for you. You can't go on like this. Jiu Fenglan appeared in front of Jiu Hao's room. Grandfather, this isn't a sore point. It's a motivation. For this goal, I'll work hard to cultivate. When I become a high-level venerable, I'll kill him, said Jiu Hao through gritted teeth. Chapter 809. Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei entered the secret tower of Tianji Tower. The big shots of Tianji Tower were all there, including the Grand Elder. Grand Elder, I'm sorry. Night Sorrow bowed to the Grand Elder. Yishang, Grand Elder has already spoken to Martial Uncle. You don't have to apologize. Martial Uncle is already very happy that you can still think of him after 3 years, said Grand Elder. Grand Elder can understand. Night Sorrow is very sincere. Night Sorrow nodded. Sit down and talk. I think you have something to say. Xiao Lanjun pointed at the chair next to Lin Yuandao. I learned something when I went to the Heaven Sealing Hole. Tianji Tower was founded by the Sage King of the Void Dao. Do Grand Elder and Lord K know about the Void Dao sky? Night Sorrow asked Xie Longjun and Lin Yuandao. You know about the void Dao sky? Lin Yuandao looked at Night Sorrow with some surprise. It seems that Lord K knows about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so surprised. Night Sorrow looked at Lin Yuandao's expression and knew the answer. The people here are the core of Tianji Tower. Lord K, please tell us. Xiao Longjun nodded to Lin Yuandao. Lin Yuandao looked at them and said, the void Dao sky is Tianji Tower's biggest secret. Only the K lords are qualified to know about it. It's a small world. It's the place where Tianji Tower retreats at the most critical moment. In other words, as long as the void Dao sky exists, Tianji Tower will not be destroyed. We have to speed up the construction. That way, even if the 9 zones suffer a disaster, Tianji Tower will still have a place to stand, said Night Sorrow. I'll take care of that. Yi Shang, don't be too stressed. Also, you can make decisions about the Empyrean Terminus Tower. There are some things you can decide. If you want to fight, the Empyrean Terminus Tower will be your shield, said Xie Longjun. We want to fight. Night Sorrow then said that he wanted to declare war on the Profound Mysteries realm and that Yi Linghuan had gone to investigate. Alright, Xie Longjun said. We can fight whenever we want. Right now, the realm of Eastern Xian, the realm of Northern Sea, the realm of Unbounded Desolation, the realm of Grand Clarity, and the realm of Southern Li are all under our control. The realm of Sanyuan and the realm of Taiyue don't have much battle prowess. The Qingtian domain is currently the problem with Ji Yu's clan. Lord K. Lord, can you help me arrange a meeting with them? I'll go talk to them. If it can be resolved, I'm willing to do so. In the face of the greater good, personal grudges are nothing. I'm willing to take a step back, said Night Sorrow. Alright, I'll go arrange it now. Wait for the news. Lin Yuandao stood up and left the secret tower. Night Sorrow, you've done well. You've looked at the big picture. Others will only admire your magnanimity. A benevolent person must have a heart of forgiveness. Xiao Longjun looked at Night Sorrow with admiration. An hour later, Lin Yuandao returned. He told everyone that Ji Yu Fenglan and the elders of Ji Yu's clan were waiting at Tianji Tower's Qingtian City branch. I won't be going. K Lord, Wu K Lord, and Tai Shu K Lord accompany Night Sorrow. It's necessary to resolve the conflict, but we can't wrong Night Sorrow, said Xia Longjun to Lin Yuandao, Wu Lingfei, and Tai Shu Quebec. Then, under Lin Yuandao's lead, the 4 of them arrived at Tianji Tower's Qingtian City branch. In the lobby of Tianji Tower's branch, Ji Yu Fenglan sat in the middle on the left. There were several people standing behind him, including Ji Yu Hao. After Yi Shang and the other 3 entered, they also sat down across from the others. Lin Yuandao, I want to know something. Is Tianji Tower involved in this matter? Ji Yu Fenglan looked at Lin Yuandao. Tianji Tower is the middleman this time, said Lin Yuandao. Since Tianji Tower is the middleman, then it's easy to talk about it. Night Sorrow, what do you mean? Ji Yu Fenglan's eyes were filled with hostility as he looked at Wu Lingfei, then at Night Sorrow. The 9 regions are unstable right now. It's best if we can turn hostility into friendship. After all, the civil war will consume the strength of the 9 regions, said Night Sorrow. If you want to resolve it, then hand over Sikong Chuyu. You must hand him over. Ji Yu Hao pointed at Night Sorrow and roared. Paw! One of Night Sorrow's armrests shattered. Suppressing his anger, Night Sorrow looked at Ji Yu Fenglan. Patriarch Ji Yu, is this your Ji Yu clan's intention? This is my young master's sore point. If you want to resolve it, then it's best to resolve it. Ji Yu Fenglan supported Ji Yu Hao's point of view. From today onwards, I, Night Sorrow, and your Gu clan will not rest until one of us is dead. Take this. Night Sorrow stood up, his robe fluttering in the wind. He was extremely angry. Just one woman. Gu clan can give you 10 outstanding women. Gu Fenglan looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Scram." Night Sorrow waved his hand and smashed the tea table in front of him into pieces. Gu Fenglan, Night Sorrow wants to resolve the conflict, but you're digging your own grave. Wu Lingfei was also angry because Gu clan had no bottom line. Let's see what you're going to say. Huh, is that so? I know that with your help, the Yue clan killed the 7-star saint. But let me tell you, because of the influence of the overall situation of the 9 regions, the golden light that filled the sky attracted the attention of our Gu clan's great ancestor. Now, the great ancestor of the Gu clan has returned from the Central State Prefecture. If you want to fight, then attack and try. Gu Fenglan laughed loudly and left the Heaven's Terminus Tower with his men. Night Sorrow closed his eyes and exhaled, calming himself down. Negotiating with trash. I'm asking for humiliation. Let's fight. Later, I'll ask our spies in Gu clan and see what cultivation base their ancestor has. Lin Yuandao said with a cold face. The young master of Tianji Tower had lowered himself to negotiate with Gu clan. Lin Yuandao couldn't accept such humiliation. After Lin Yuandao left, Night Sorrow still hadn't calmed down. He knew that being impulsive wouldn't solve the problem. In addition, his impulsiveness would involve a lot of things, such as the Night Moon dynasty behind him, Tianji Tower, Eastern Profound Region, and so on. Night Sorrow, wait for the news. If we can't deal with that guy, then I'll ask Long Xianqing to come out. After all, he owes you a favor. Wu Lingfei could understand the anger in Night Sorrow's heart. If Shi can't deal with the opponent's saint, then I'll pay the price to ask Long Xianqing to come out. I'll definitely vent my anger. Night Sorrow nodded. Then Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei returned to the city in the sky. However, he went directly to the lake to cultivate and didn't tell anyone about it. Night Sorrow casually ate 2 mouthfuls of dinner and went to the secret cultivation room. What's wrong? He's not in a good mood. Sikong Chuyu looked in the direction of Night Sorrow's secret cultivation room and said. Wu Lingfei looked at the girls, nodded to Yu Qing, and went to her own pavilion. He's been wronged. I'll see how it goes later. Wu Lingfei knew that Gu clan had really angered Night Sorrow this time. Otherwise, Night Sorrow wouldn't have asked for Long Xianqing's help. Chapter 8-10. 6 days later, Lin Yuandao came to the city in the sky to see Night Sorrow. At the same time, he told Night Sorrow that he didn't know the name of the old ancestor of the Gu family. He claimed to be King Ji, who had become famous earlier than Xiaolongjun. He was very likely to be a high-level saint. Thank you, Master Quebec. I understand. Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Lin Yuandao. How do you plan to fight? Tianji Tower will fully cooperate with you. Lin Yuandao expressed his stance. The Empyrean Peak Tower would not tolerate bullying the young master of the Empyrean Peak Tower. I'll think about it first. If there's a need, I'll inform Master K, Night Sorrow said. Lin Yuandao left. Night Sorrow sat on the wooden boat and took out a jar of wine. At the same time, he transferred Xuexi out of the spacetime pagoda. At this time, Wu Lingfei and Yu Qing came. They knew that Lin Yuandao had come. The appearance of a saint brought a strong sense of opportunity. Night Sorrow nodded to Wu Lingfei and Yu Qing. He looked at Xuexi and asked, "How much do you know about King Ji?" "Not much different from my peak. I've seen him once. At that time, we were both peak venerables. Then, 200 years later, I became a saint. After becoming a saint, my cultivation speed has been maintained at a high speed. There's no reason for him to cultivate faster than me, Xuexi said. Knight Sorrow lowered his head and thought about what to do next. He wouldn't take this lying down. Knight Sorrow, I'll go and see what that guy's cultivation level is. After I find out, you can make a decision. After saying that, Xuexi flashed and left the lake. If the other party is strong, she will be in danger, Wu Lingfei looked at Knight Sorrow and said. No, she has cultivated the wind essence body and can use the wind essence escape. It's almost impossible to hurt or kill her, Knight Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded. She knew what was going on with Xuexi, as well as her talent. Yu Qing asked Knight Sorrow what had happened. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and then told Yu Qing. You've gone too far. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yu Qing's face turned pale with anger. Mother, don't worry. If this Ji Wangxing is strong, I'll go talk to Long Xianxing and ask him to step forward. If not, I'll just wait. Xuexi's strength is rising quickly as well. Knight Sorrow said. Yu Qing nodded her head. She knew that they were currently competing with the best of their strength. Night Moon did not have any high-level saints, which was his weakness. 4 days later, Xuexi returned. She had investigated thoroughly and found that King Saint Ji was a 7-star saint. His cultivation was comparable to hers back then. A 7-star saint is not a big problem. He can even fight against Supreme Elder Xia. Defeating him is not a problem. The key is whether or not he can be killed, Wu Lingfei said. Cool unique and, NK he all D is T pirated 0N, Night Sorrow, I'm sorry. I'm not his opponent now. My cultivation can't be raised in a short time. Xuexi said apologetically. Don't worry. Go back and rest first. Night Sorrow sent Xuexi back into the Time Pagoda. At this time, Ling Yuandao and Xie Longjun had also arrived at Sky City and the lake. Night Sorrow, what do you plan to do? I can fight. This is too much. Xie Longjun expressed her attitude. Xie Longjun had always been committed to the peace of the 9 regions, and she had done so over the years. Yi Shang was magnanimous enough to resolve the grudges, and she was very gratified. She was the first to find out that Yi Shang had been humiliated. I plan to see Long Xuanqing's opinion. If I do, I'll kill him. Night Sorrow said. Xie Longjun nodded because she was not confident in killing King Saint Ji. After that, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei left Sky City and went directly to Eastern Xian region. When the two of them arrived at the eastern ice field, Long Xianxing appeared in front of the two of them. Is there a problem? Long Xianxing looked at Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow and asked. Wu Lingfei was the region lord of Eastern Xian region, and Night Sorrow was the most outstanding youth in Eastern Xian region. Both of them were highly valued by Long Xianxing. Now that both of them were here, Long Xianxing naturally knew that there was a problem. Senior, I would like to ask you to kill someone for me. I can accept the price. Night Sorrow said. Let's not talk about the price. As long as you don't lose out, and as long as the other party deserves to die, I'll do it. Long Xianxing said. Before Night Sorrow said anything, Wu Lingfei said the reason. To think that they would dare to bully the people of the Eastern Profound region. How interesting. This seat is willing to take action. Long Xianxing spoke and explained the reason. Night Sorrow had a taboo title, and naturally, he had the luck of the 9 regions. Helping Night Sorrow would only bring him benefits. Long Xianxing did not agree at first because he was worried that Night Sorrow would lose out. He could not help Night Sorrow and hurt his own virtue. But now that he knew that Night Sorrow was not wrong, he was naturally willing to help. Long Xianqing then told Knight Sorrow that he did not need to worry about King Saint Ji. After 7 days, Knight Sorrow could lead people to attack Ji Yu's family. Knight Sorrow took out 3 Saint Spirit stones and said, "I can't let Senior work for nothing. Please accept this small gift. You little brat, you really think highly of me. But I don't need it now. You should keep it." Long Xuanqing's body flashed, and he disappeared in the direction of eastern Xian City. Knight Sorrow, you can rest assured. Western Nether Region's heavenly underworld saint is very powerful. He's a peak saint, but he was still suppressed by Long Xianqing. King Saint Ji is only a 7-star saint, so he can die. Wu Lingfei said. In that case, I'll go back and prepare for the attack. Knight Sorrow wanted nothing more than to kill Ji Yuhao immediately. Ji Yuhao had been nurtured by Ji Yu's family, and his strength had risen at a terrifying speed. He was already a 6th-level venerable. But Knight Sorrow was not afraid. He had even defeated 7th-level venerables in the heaven-sealing Great Hole. To others, Ji Yuhao's 6th-level venerable was very terrifying. Even 7th-level venerables, or even 8th-level venerables, would not be willing to face him, because their attributes would be suppressed, and they would not be able to fight. However, the situation was different for Yishang. Ji Yuhao was a level 6 venerables, but he was only slightly stronger than an ordinary level 6 venerables. Ji Yuhao's element advantage was useless against Yishang. On the contrary, Ji Yuhao's element advantage was suppressed by Yishang. Auntie Fei will also mobilize some people. Ji Yuhao was arrogant that day because he thought the force behind him was stronger than you. You're not weaker than him. You have Auntie Fei, Eastern Xian Region, Tianji Tower, and Night Moon Dynasty. Wu Lingfei said to Knight Sorrow, then pulled Knight Sorrow and flew towards Eastern Xian City. In Sky City, Yu Qing, who knew about Knight Sorrow's humiliation, informed her husband. Yi Wuyo was furious when he heard about it. Yi Linghuan was not there, so Yi Wuyo contacted the emperors and told them about his intention to fight. Chapter 8:11. Thank you, uncles, for your support of Wuyo. Knight Sorrow has suffered too much. As his father, I can't bear to let him bear it alone. It's our family that has dragged Night Moon down. Yi Wuyo pulled Yu Qing and bowed to the 4 emperors. Wuyo, if you choose to bear with it, then Grandpa will be disappointed. Perhaps that's the overall situation, but you've lost the backbone of the Night Moon people. So what if you know you're no match for them? We Night Moon people dare to fight the world. Yi Shenxian, the previous leader of the Night Moon, said. Where's Knight Sorrow? He's gone again. Why didn't he tell the family about such an important matter? The family can make the decision for him. Yi Xinyue looked at Yu Qing and said. He went to the Eastern Xian domain with Lord Wu Kei to ask for Long Xuanqing's opinion. Tianji Tower supports him. Yu Qing said. With the support of the Extreme Heaven Tower, that goes without saying. That blue-robed everlasting saint has no problem suppressing a 7-star saint. Yi Shenquang said. Knight Sorrow and Wu Lingfei arrived at the Empyrean Tower and saw Xie Longjun and Lin Yuandao there. The other giants were nowhere to be seen. The Tianji Tower's men are ready. This time, they've joined forces with the Sikong clan and several Qingtian domain families. After the war starts, we'll wipe out Ji Yu's family from the Qingtian domain. Lin Yuandao said. Lin Yuandao had discussed with Xie Longjun and a few others and decided to support the Sikong clan of Bailing City to take over the Qingtian domain. Therefore, they made some arrangements. Senior Long Xianqing has decided to help me. He'll deal with Ji Wangxing. We'll start the war in 7 days. Knight Sorrow said. The men of Dongxian City and Tianji Tower of the Eastern Xian Domain will gather in Taiyue Domain in a day. Wu Lingfei revealed her deployment. The Night Moon Empire is not good at the saint level. Apart from that, it is the best in the 9 zones in all other aspects. That way, there is no need to mobilize more people. That would be making a mountain out of a molehill. Xie Lanjun said. After deciding that the battle would begin in 7 days, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei returned to Sky City together. After entering the mansion, Night Sorrow was met with Night God Thunder's furious roar. This was because there was something Night Sorrow hadn't told his family. Shang-er, you are the young master of Night Moon. You can give up everything for the family, and the family can also be your most solid support. Even if the family is destroyed, you will not hesitate. This is the tradition of Night Moon. In the future, if you have any problems, just tell the family. This time, I'll have to trouble Master Wu Kei again. Yishin Xian stood up and said a few words to Night Sorrow, then cupped his hands towards Wu Lingfei. You are too polite, Emperor Shin Xian. Night Sorrow is my family, Wu Lingfei said. You are back. That means you have a plan. Tell everyone. Yi Wuyo asked Night Sorrow to sit beside him. Then, Night Sorrow explained the current situation. You solved it yourself again. The family has become a decoration again, Night God Thunder muttered. No, we still need Night Moon to fight. We won't give them a chance to breathe. We will directly wipe out Ji-Yu's family from the 9 zones world. Night Sorrow's hatred grew. He had kindly asked for reconciliation, but he had been humiliated. How could he not hate and be angry? Shang-er, you took us to the heaven-sealing palace and used up a lot of spirit stones. This time, I will get them back for you, Night God Moon said with a smile. Night God Moon had never married. Night Moon's children were her children. After seeing Night Sorrow, she especially liked him. Thank you, Great Aunt. A smile appeared on Night Sorrow's face. He felt very warm in his heart. No matter how dangerous the situation was, the family was standing behind him. After chatting for a while, Night Moon's emperors went to work. Yi Wuyo also left to gather people. Then, Yu Qing told Night Sorrow that even though the situation was not good, Night Moon's emperors had decided to support him to the end. She wanted Night Sorrow to believe in the family. The Yi family was the most united family. Mother, it's all my fault. I brought trouble to Night Sorrow and the family. Sikong Chuyu, who had been standing beside Yang Lei and Ooi, wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and said, How is it your fault? It's because you are too outstanding that they wanted to take advantage of you. Don't worry, no one will dare to do that in the future. Yu Qing held Sikong Chuyu's hand and said, Thank you, Mother. Sikong Chuyu nodded. Then, everyone chatted and drank tea. With Long Xuanqing's help, the direction of the war was basically set. There was nothing for them to worry about. Chuyu, 9th senior sister, 6th senior sister, when you improve your cultivation base, pay attention to your actual combat power and the improvement of your soul power. 3 years later, I will bring all of you to the heaven-conferring palace to take the test for the title. Night Sorrow said while drinking tea. Great. If there's a chance, we must seize it. Yang Lei said excitedly. She and Sikong Chuyu were both at the peak of the 8th void inquiry stage. But I can't. It's still too early for me. Aoi was anxious. Don't worry. It's still 3 years. 6th senior sister can do it. Night Sorrow said with a smile. H+8 after that, Sikong Chuyu told him that Ling Long was a little depressed because she did not get the title for the past few days. Night Sorrow thought for a while and went to the martial arts arena. In the arena, everyone was cultivating. The one who worked the hardest and was almost in a state of madness was Ling Long. Gather. Night Sorrow shouted. As soon as Night Sorrow's voice fell, the members of the god-slaying squad quickly gathered together. Ling Long, come out. Night Sorrow called out to Ling Long, I'm sorry. I've disappointed the leader. I've embarrassed the god-slaying squad. Ling Long, who took 2 steps forward, said. The current you is the one who has disappointed me. What's wrong with failing once? If you know where you're lacking, just cultivate it. It's not difficult to defeat the enemy. What's difficult is to defeat yourself. Your current situation shows that your mental state isn't up to standard. Night Sorrow looked at Ling Long and said. Ling Long will continue to work hard. Ling Long bowed slightly to Night Sorrow. There will be battles in the next few days. Can you still participate in them? Night Sorrow looked at Ling Long, of course. What kind of battle will it be? Who will I be fighting? Ling Long's eyes lit up. She felt stifled and wanted to vent. I've been humiliated, so I've decided to fight back. I need my brothers and sisters to fight alongside me. Does anyone have any questions? Night Sorrow glanced at Ling Long and then called out to the rest of the god-slaying squad. The response to Night Sorrow was the sound of armor being knocked and cheered. Then everyone should prepare for battle. Also, I can see that you've all been cultivating impatiently. Your mental state isn't right. Ninth Senior Apprentice Sister, Chiyu, have everyone practice sculpting over the next few days to adjust your mental state, Night Sorrow said to Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu. After Night Sorrow left, the members of the god-slaying team took out their own carving tools. Something has been wrong these past few days. Everyone was provoked by Yun Huang and Liang Yu's titles. Now that we heard the leader's words, we understood, said Ho Jian. Chapter 8:12. It doesn't matter who it is. What's important is that he must die. We have to fight back. The person who insulted Captain is dead, said Yun Huang. When he heard that Night Sorrow had been insulted, Yun Huang was furious. His brother being insulted was no different from him being insulted. Let's just get ready to fight. Shuai Ling waved his sword. Q over you, I think we should all focus on carving. You've already lost the calmness you should have, said Yang Lei. Night Sorrow and Shuai were cultivating by the lake. Night Sorrow wasn't far from the 5th star Venerable Realm, while Shuai was also trying to break through to the 5th star Venerable Realm. Their cultivations had improved very quickly, but they didn't suffer from the drawbacks of having an unstable foundation. Besides tempering themselves in actual combat, their cultivations had been tempered and stabilized in the spatial storms of the realm ocean, so their foundations were extremely solid. All this time, my goal in life has been to suppress some people and have more authority in the 9 realms. But after meeting you, I realized that my previous thoughts were too shallow and childish. There are too many wonderful things waiting for us, said Shuai as she looked at Night Sorrow, who had finished his meditation and stood up. Yes, after dealing with the Qingtian realm, only the Western Nether realm is left. We can't follow the 9 realms' footsteps. But this matter can't be rushed, said Night Sorrow. After entering Supreme Sky City and learning some things, Night Sorrow had a big dream in his heart. He wanted to take revenge, but because of his strength, he couldn't realize it. First of all, if he wanted to unify the 9 realms, he needed prestige and deterrence. And if he wanted prestige and deterrence, he needed strength. On the 5th day of Night Sorrow's return, Lin Yuandao came with Long Shenxing. That guy, this king has taken care of him for you. Previously, this king said that he would get you an ancient book, but after sorting it out, it wasn't very suitable. This time, after killing King Ji, I did get something. One of them is a cultivation technique. It's the central state scripture, which can be cultivated to the Saint King realm. It's the ancient book of the central state Saint King. The other one is a soul doppelganger, it's called the 3-yuan doppelganger. However, if you want to cultivate it, you must be careful and act according to your strength. Cultivating a soul doppelganger is very harmful to your soul. Thank you, Senior Long Xianqing. You don't need the scripture. You can give me a copy, said Night Sorrow. I don't need it. Our Dragon Turtle clan has a talent cultivation technique. Long Xianqing shook his head. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow understood that Long Xianqing really didn't need it. Then, he kept the scripture. You have a good place here. I will not disturb you in the future. Arrange the battle, said Long Xianqing. After Long Xianqing left, Night Sorrow informed the current leaders of Night Moon, Yi Wuyo and Yi Shenxian, to gather the troops. In addition, he communicated with Lin Yuandao and Wu Lingfei. Night Moon would be the main attacker, and the other two groups would kill from the periphery. As for the resources obtained by Night Moon, they would be divided equally with Tianji Tower and Eastern Xian region. That's not necessary. It's hard to fight the headquarters. Each side can collect the resources of the cities. Lin Yuandao said. We are fighting this war to vent our anger. As for the resources, it doesn't matter. Wu Lingfei also expressed her opinion. At this time, no one would care about the resources. One had to know that Night Sorrow had provided a lot of dragon spirit pills to Tianji Tower and Eastern Xian region. If they were to care about the resources with Night Sorrow, it would be unreasonable. Yi Shang, wait for Auntie Fei. Auntie Fei will make some arrangements and come back with you. Over there is Ji Yu Fenglan, Auntie Fei's old enemy. Auntie Fei wants to kill him personally. Wu Lingfei said to Yi Shang. Then I will wait for Aunt Fei. We will set off when Aunt Fei comes back. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Wu Lingfei and Ji Yu Fenglan had a deep hatred. At this time, in Ji Yu family's mansion, Ji Yu Fenglan's face was gloomy. Take the family's juniors and hide first. The other side is really going to fight. The old ancestor left 2 days ago and hasn't come back. The old ancestor is a high-level saint. Is there anyone who can threaten his safety? Ji Yuhao frowned and asked. The everlasting saint of the celestial terminus tower is slightly stronger than the old ancestor. She can't kill him, but she can entangle the old ancestor. In that case, we won't be able to contend with the other saints. The spies reported that they have gathered their forces and are going to fight to the death with all their might. This is something that grandfather didn't expect. Ji Yu Fenglan said with a cold face. Night Sorrow, it's that damned Night Sorrow. Ji Yuhao's face was ferocious, and his hatred for Night Sorrow was monstrous. Before Night Sorrow's name appeared, everything was going smoothly for Ji Yuhao. He could be said to be the son of heaven, and he could get whatever he wanted. But everything changed after Night Sorrow appeared. Ji Yu family was constantly attacked, and now they even had to hide from Night Sorrow's limelight. Take the younger generation of the family to the Central Province Prefecture. Memorize the formation map and the route, then destroy them. Ji Yu Fenglan said to Ji Yuhao. I understand. Ji Yuhao thought for a moment and nodded. He wasn't a brainless person. Also, take Sumu with you. That kid can be trained. He'll be a good assistant. Ji Yu Fenglan waved his hand at Ji Yuhao. In fact, Ji Yu Fenglan knew that he had really gone too far this time. He shouldn't have supported his grandson's unreasonable request. Asking for someone else's woman was a slap in the face, and it wasn't the right attitude to negotiate. Mainly, he had overestimated Ji Wangxing's strength and influence. Ji Yu family's headquarters was in the south of Sky-bearing City. Night Sorrow took Wu Lingfei, Night Moon's 4 emperors, Yi Wuyo and his wife, and the members of the god-slaying team directly to the headquarters of GU family in Sky-bearing City. Start killing. Knight Sorrow shouted. At the same time, he called Xuexi out and told her not to let the key figures of GU family escape, and not to let any of the members of the team die. They directly rushed to the front of GU family's main hall. You really dared to come here. Perhaps our GU family might not be able to fend off your attack, but you might be able to withstand the revenge of our great ancestor. It's only about a woman, and we won't mention it again. You can leave now, and I'll pretend that nothing happened today. Today, let's forget about it, Jiu Fenglan looked at Wu Lingfei and said. He felt that if he showed his attitude, Wu Lingfei and the others would retreat. After all, the deterrence of a high-level saint wasn't fake. Your ancestors' revenge. Jiu Fenglan, I was kind enough to negotiate with you, but you actually dared to have designs on my woman. Since you don't want face, then there's nothing more to say. Let Jiu Hao come out. Today, I want to see how strong a 6th-level Time Saint is, Knight Sorrow said as he waved his reincarnation spear. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.